Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Douglas Planning Board meeting for February 26, 2019. The meeting is being recorded and will be available for viewing on the Douglas Public Access channel and on the Douglas website. We'll come to order at 7:05, I guess. There are people in the audience. If you're here for the Wallum Lakes Solar Farm, that's the second item on our agenda. And that starts, we'll be doing this one first from 7 to 7:30. Okay, first item on the agenda. Public hearing continued, Douglas Renewables LLC, application for site plan review, 170 West Street. Okay, just introduce yourself, please.
All right, yep. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jeff Murphy. I'm a civil engineer with Beals & Thomas on behalf of the applicant, Douglas Renewables LLC. Since the last time we met with the board, we've provided a number of formal correspondence items with the town, shared with Bill, to address formally in written response form the site plan review comments. We have an original letter that was dated January 3rd. So that response to site plan review comments was submitted to the town on February 8th, 2019, along with revised plans and documentation, which included a noise study and information on the solar panel modules, as well as the stormwater related items, overland flow calculations, and those administrative items were related to the site plan review comments. Subsequently, we issued another letter to address the stormwater comments which were received. We issued that letter yesterday, February 25th, to address the comments that we received both verbally as well as in written form this afternoon relating to stormwater related items. So those all have been responded to and addressed on this plan set. I'd be happy to run through those items quickly here. We did receive a response letter from Bill this afternoon relating to site plan application items. The majority of those comments appear to be addressed, with the exception of a minor administrative item under comment number 3, which related to a note relating to adding signage that there are no parking on West Street. So I will just quickly run through these site plan changes that we talked about in the prior meeting. So starting here with first item that we addressed here was there was a comment that we had discussed about providing signage along the West Street for the construction. We provide notes on the plans, 300 feet either direction of the entrance for signs, say trucks entering, so that people driving down West Street.
Excuse me, do you have a larger copy? Because there's no way that I can see anything on the plan. Do you have another copy that I could have over here for us?
Another copy of the plan
To look at.
Sure.
There's no way that I mean, you guys have binoculars? Is that the revised one? No, it's November 20th.
I think I have an older version of the plan, which should have that on it already.
All the revisions?
What's that?
No.
All of the revisions? No?
I don't have a miniature plan set of this. I have the full size on the board here, but that note should be on for this set here. If you want to take a look at it. Try to follow along there. So, anyway, we've added signage that document that there will be during the construction period when there's traffic. We have that signage in place. We've fully updated our design to include the larger turnaround area that we discussed last time. This is a full 95-foot diameter turnaround here that will be able to accommodate large vehicles turnaround, and that's outside the main gate here. So we also significantly expanded the laydown and contractor parking area here, which is in this existing field as you come into the site. So we've now addressed that in terms of our stormwater design. We've added a basin to take runoff from this large turnaround area, as well as a basin in this vicinity to capture and infiltrate runoff from the access road here, which was one of the comments we had received relating to that. And that's depicted in greater detail on the graded drainage plan, which is sheet C402, with the updated grading and outlet information for these two stormwater basins. So that's fully been updated on the plans and details. Running through these items, we've added locations of all the houses within 300 feet of the property. That was another thing that we discussed last time. We've added temporary construction fencing along the abutter property line to demarcate the boundary of the limit of work, and that's going to remain in place throughout construction. And we also have, the erosion control barriers that will be in place throughout the project as well. Should be a limit of work, but in this open area, we've got that chain link construction fence to delineate that boundary. And the other items that we've gone through last time, not much has changed up here. We did provide the full perimeter gravel driveway, which was a request of the fire chief. That's now been added to the plan, so it will be a gravel surface, and we provided a detail depicting that as well on the plans for this perimeter drive that's going to provide total access around this portion of the array. And then, as was discussed at the last meeting, we also had expanded this area turnaround at the lower part of the site as well for fire truck turnaround. So we now have access to all these areas, equipment pads, large turnaround here for construction vehicles, as well as access to our basins fully for maintenance. We've also added in some linear check dams through these natural valleys, which was part of our overland flow analysis. Bill had raised that, and we did a calculation for basically areas within the solar panel array where stormwater will likely be concentrated due to the topography of the site. We provided linear riprap check dams in these areas to break up and dissipate that flow, as well as the ones we already have in place for the perimeter swales that will take runoff from the access roads and will convey that to our stormwater basins here. So we've now included that in the project as well. Specifically relating to the stormwater items. So I provided a letter here that I can submit to you, Bill, here, just documenting the items we received this afternoon, which basically reiterates the overland flow calculations that we submitted with the February 8th and 25th letters. As well as there were a number of kind of administrative things related to the site owner's manual, which I believe were provided in the appendix E of the stormwater report. If there's any specific questions on those, I can address those now. If you have any items you'd like to discuss relating to that, questions, Bill, on that. In terms of that, our site owner's manual includes a long-term operation and maintenance plan for stormwater BMPs, as well as pollution prevention control measures, and we have that prepared with our stormwater calculations, and that's kind of all per Mass DEP stormwater standards. So I'd be happy to review any of that information with you. I believe it's all there in terms of responsible parties for the on-site facilities. We have that under site owners agreement, section 2.0. We have an operation and maintenance log. We have documentation of spill prevention. We had also provided maintenance for each of the BMPs. So we can provide these as an updated plan. We're amenable as a condition. See those, being as these were mostly administrative comments relating to the site owners. From what I understand, stand. And it's a description of public safety features indicating that we are going to provide spill kits on the site and that the facility will be entirely gated and surrounded with a security fence and prevent the public from entering the site, potentially injuring themselves. So things like that, I believe, were included in the site owner's manual. So I'd be happy to go through any of those if you would like to.
So are you still maintaining $400 to $800 a year for EMP maintenance?
Well, that was the standard per basin. So now we have, the 4 basins, so the cumulative items, I believe, we now have an additional 2 basins in there. So that's essentially, again, we could add that into that document for you and provide that as an administrative update to that document. And then I believe there was also a comment relating to the SWIP. So we've provided a draft stormwater pollution prevention plan, which is a complete document. There are several contact information boxes that we will know prior to construction. It's very typical that, and we'd be happy to provide a final copy of that, but that's something that we file with the EPA before construction begins. So again, the document is there with all the pieces. It's just a matter of plugging in that contractor information that we'll know at a later time, and we'd be amenable to providing a finalized copy of that document prior to construction. Again, just plugging in those contact information.
Yeah, for the board's edification, I mean, the document was fairly complete. Jeff's correct in saying that, a lot of the comments were more administrative in nature. They were omissions of operator's name and, details like that, which for a draft plan, they probably wouldn't have that level of detail anyway. But what we'll probably do is have a condition in the decision that requires that they give us a copy of the final that has all the information complete.
Right. Okay.
I was concerned about the operating budget. It seemed low to me, the $400 to $800 for the maintenance of the site. And if it's per basin, that still seems a little low to me. If they're going to have to go out and clear and maintain the basins, is $400 to $800 adequate? Anyways, that's their O&M. I'm just pointing this out. It's not like we're going to go out and maintain these things. It's more of a permit compliance issue. So we could put conditions in there that could, affect their permit if they're not maintained. That would be our ability to control what they're doing.
I would say go for the higher number as far as the maintenance goes. If it's between 4 and 8. Make sure there's enough in there to do it.
Peanuts.
Well, that's what they've
My
calculated.
understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, is that the site is maintained as part of Nexamp's own maintenance team, and that includes stormwater monitoring. So if there's areas that have, erosion issue or again, a basin maintenance issue, that will all be addressed as part of their ongoing maintenance of the facility throughout the life of the facility. That, the O&M plan that was with the stormwater report was again to more address the Mass DEP standards of this is what our estimated operation and maintenance costs in there. So again, it's just more of a stormwater management standard for specifically just the stormwater BMPs, not the solar specific items, which basin maintenance is part of the entire site maintenance.
Right. Can you just tell us and describe how the vehicle refueling would occur on the site?
Sure. So we have several areas throughout the site. So we have our contractor kind of staging area out here, which is in an upland area here that's outside of buffer zones. So we've identified that as an area, and then also, we have other areas on the site where there's generally going to be parking vehicles. There's a provision in the stormwater pollution prevention plan that outlines vehicle refueling and procedures, and also that they'll have a spill kit on the site in case there's any sort of an issue with a spill where they need to clean it up. That will be something that'll be on the site during construction of all times that they can mobilize to address any any issues. And
So perhaps we can add a note to the drawing. See, my concern is, it's great to have a plan, and oftentimes the guy out there in the field building this thing is going by that plan, not the stormwater plan, which is going to say you can't do this, and you can't, you know, you have specific areas. So I would prefer to see a note on the drawing, either calling out specific areas or referring to the stormwater pollution prevention plan.
Sure. Yeah, and that's something that we also typically do. You know, we usually have a pre-construction meeting with the site work contractor, with Nexamp, to basically review that final SWIP document. We do a kind of an on-site briefing of the general things in there. We run through all those things and the key, you know, things to be mindful of during construction, and certainly, you know, that's something we strive for pre-construction. You know, as an administrative item, certainly take care of that.
Refueling, is that going to be a tanker truck on the site, or are you having a tank put on the site, or?
I believe it'll be probably a truck that'll come to the site to refuel any
Okay.
equipment that's out
And
there.
all that'll be done in one specific area, not throughout the site? There's a specific area for doing that, or will the truck be traveling throughout the site refueling?
Right, and I think that's kind of what Bill was alluding to.
Right.
Is that,
They're looking for a parking spot.
right, just a
Park and fuel.
set refueling area.
Yeah, we can limit that to one area.
One area?
So you're
Okay.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It was brought up by, on the bottom to have a gate off by West Street to keep the four-wheelers and stuff out.
Correct.
Okay.
I forgot to mention that. That is now on the plan
Good.
here.
All right.
It's essentially a gate here to keep people from going into the site.
All right.
But yes, thank you
Yeah.
for that reminder.
Yeah.
That is something that we did
I
address.
just remember that being brought up.
Yep, so we have
Good.
a
Okay.
20-foot vehicle gate right here, and we have also a detail for it as well.
Awesome.
So, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So generally, I mean, Jeff's gone through and addressed all my comments sufficiently. I think there might be a few conditions, perhaps, in a decision that might reference, you know, one or two lingering issues like the fueling areas and stuff like that, that they could clean up the final set, and then we'll be in good shape. I know they did distribute, and I'm not sure if you gave everyone a copy of the waiver list?
Yes, we have it. It's in our packet.
Okay.
We did provide that waiver request list, and again, this goes back to Bill's letter on the site plan review. There were a few items, they're all get kind of interrelated, but we listed out the separate site plan requirements relating to, essentially they're all like relating to the landscape plan. I know in our previous discussions, we talked about project screening, and at the last meeting, we talked about adding project screening along the eastern abutter's property using vinyl vinyl slats and the chain link fencing, which that has now been incorporated onto the layout materials plans, as well as the detail for the fencing. So from essentially this corner here, all the way along this angle piece, we have privacy slats begin and end on the fence, and again, it's been added to our detail sheet for the chain link fences. Add those green privacy slats in the areas that are noted on the site plans. So again, those waiver requests specifically, the first one is related to landscape requirements in terms of project screening. As we discussed, the project is 1,300 feet back away from West Street. There's going to be there's all existing woods around the site. So we are still going to have that wooded buffer from West Street. And the overall distance from abutting properties as the rest of the remaining area is surrounded by woodland vegetation. So the screening was going to be accomplished through that physical barrier of vinyl slats versus vegetative screening. So the other items were, there was a landscape and utility plan. We provided utilities on the grading and drainage plan that has our electrical utilities shown on it. And the other one was a specific landscaping plan. So those are the three items that we are requesting relief from relating to those.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal.
There was some concern about any impact on the town water wells downstream or downgrade.
Well, I did forward an email to them, and they responded in their big letter. You'll see a number of exhibits attached to there, and I think primarily we were concerned about the potential for, you know, I don't want to say hazardous materials, but does it have hazardous materials, and provide material safety data sheets and that sort of thing. And they've provided that information in the packet, and maybe they want to address that briefly.
Yep.
I'm
So,
not sure how far that is, but.
yep, we did provide that information for the solar modules themselves. Again, you know, self-contained modules. You know, there's going to be a fair bit of tree clearing around the perimeter of the array facility, both for shading purposes as well as for hazard. So you don't want trees to be able to fall onto the panels as well. So it's just that extra distance provides a little more measure of protection for the panels themselves in terms of hazards and things falling on them. And again, our stormwater system is designed so that we have placed basins in areas that we're, you know, essentially capturing the water in the locations where it's already flowing. So we try to put the basins essentially in the path of where the natural flow paths are on the site. So we kind of have the ability to, you know, capture everything that is coming off of our work area and containing it in the basins. So that kind of also adds an element of protection, and that everything's kind of self-contained from a drainage perspective.
So will they go through will they go through a one-time, you know, because you're going to clear the site, right? You'll do the basins, then you'll do the panels. So they're going to do a maintenance check before, you know, they go live. So they'll install the panels and then do the clean out and check?
Yeah.
Or how
I
does
mean,
that happen?
Yep. So you're correct in that they will prioritize construction of the stormwater basins and conveyance swales to basically make sure that everything is at least contained during construction. And before the final, you know, basins are, you know, finalized, they will have to go in and scrape sediment out periodically as conditions warrant. And again, we're going to be having the site work contractor will be monitoring very closely the outlets of all the basins to make sure that, you know, that water is you know, collected and allowed to you know, settle out any sediment before we're discharging it. So these basins will act as both temporary sedimentation basins as well as permanent basins, and they will have to go in and just clean them up as necessary and, you know, establish final vegetation on those. So the basins will be, and swales will be in place prior to the construction of the array. That site work will have been completed, and those basins will be there before they even start going to build the array itself. So
Excuse me, how big is this site?
There was a mention of a couple of abandoned sheds that were on the property. Maybe plans to raise those. Has that been brought up?
Yep, you are correct. We have added notes to the plans, the layout materials sheets that basically indicate that those two structures are to be demolished. So we've added this note here, and then the other building is right here. So yep, so we do have a note on there that those two structures are to be removed.
Excuse me, how big is the site?
In terms of the array itself, or
The whole site?
the limit
Everything
of
you,
work?
you know, everything you're putting fence around, everything that's there, how big is it?
31 acres.
About 31 acres.
20 acres?
31.
31 acres, okay.
Bill, any comments, questions?
No, you know, after you take a vote, I have some suggestions on conditions.
May I ask a question? Just in regards to vehicle maintenance on site, contractors are as contractors are. They're having engine issues, changing oil out there by accident, you know, they need hydraulics changed. Is there a protocol written in somewhere on how they collect it, how they save it, and then how they dispose of it off the site instead of it being sort of strewn on the ground? I mean, it does happen. So I just was wondering, I don't know if there is language that should be in there. I'm just asking.
That's a good question. I believe that the SWIP has standard language in that for that, and again, as Bill mentioned, we can add additional notes to specify a refueling area or equipment maintenance area. I think we can identify an area that we can, you know,
At least
have-
reference them to some sort of chapter or,
Yep, we'll
you know.
reference the section in here that talks about, you know,
Right.
spill prevention and maintenance, and we'll have that designated area where there's, you know,
The responsibility of all vendors and contractors, regardless of who they work for, need to follow protocol
correct.
for that, so.
Any other questions, board?
No, I think they've addressed everything. I don't have the waiver list. I'm looking for that.
Right here.
Can you find it in
There's two of them.
the
There's a stormwater one.
It's not, it's just.
It's a little.
one page?
Yeah, one page, three
Okay.
waivers.
Okay.
All right. All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? You can come through the chair and we'll get it answered if we can.
You should come up and talk. Is that microphone live? Or
Yes.
something?
That is left.
Yeah, 'cause I'm hoping they can hear us.
The PA system is down, so we gotta have
If
to.
you can't hear us, tell us.
Yeah.
Okay. Speak up. You will speak up.
Okay. Nobody has any questions? Okay.
Shoot for it, Tracy? Go for it.
You wanna
Yes,
close-
first we can address the,
Do the waiver list first?
the waiver list.
Okay, let's do the
Okay.
waiver list first.
Did everybody, did you review the waiver list? Aaron?
Yeah, I have it here.
Everything's pretty much pertaining to the landscaping requirements. So I can
This is the
vote the list as a
stormwater list,
whole.
right? Is this the
Yeah.
stormwater? Yeah.
No, this is for their request for waivers. So I will make a motion to grant the waiver request for section 5.3, section 9.4.41.C, and section 9.4.41.E.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion been made by Tracy, seconded by Mike Z. Any further comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, if there's nothing further, we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Did everyone hear that they had the ability? Do you think they heard?
Yeah,
Okay.
second. Already seconded the
I'm
motion.
sorry?
No, you opened it up to the audience.
Yes,
I just want to make sure
nobody
they
had
all
any.
heard that it was open for questions. Is that what you're saying?
Nobody had any?
No one has any questions, okay.
Not for this one.
Okay, motion made by Tracy to close the public hearing, seconded by Mike Z.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. All right, Bill.
So, given that it's approved, some of the conditions that, and I'm,
We didn't vote to approve it.
No, we
oh,
didn't
I'm
yet.
sorry. Go ahead.
Didn't yet.
My apologies.
No, that's okay.
Close it.
All right. Everybody good with a motion to
Yeah, I'll make a motion to grant the special permit for site plan review for Douglas Renewables LLC, 170 West Street.
Motion made by Tracy, seconded by Mike G. Mike G. Okay, Mike G. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Show that Les Stevens is absent from the proceedings, please, on the record. Okay, Bill.
Okay,
Condition.
so we're closed. Did you vote to
We're closed,
approve?
yep.
Yep.
Okay. What I've been doing is compiling a list of sample decisions from other communities. I'm still going through that.
Okay.
And trying to establish a model decision as these things become more and more common. We'd like to make sure we get something that works for us. So some of the conditions that I'm coming across that I think are reasonable and we've discussed during the hearing is having an outside consultant that's familiar with decommissioning give us a proposal and establish the value for decommissioning of the facility.
Yep. Definitely.
What I'm seeing, it's roughly 35,000 per megawatt is what I'm seeing.
Okay.
Does that sound about right?
High, but
Okay.
we're fine with consultant.
And as we discussed, they must enter into a pilot or TIF agreement with the Board of Selectmen.
Yep.
Hours are 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. except holidays. going through my list, and I'm just going to touch on the more significant ones. No hazardous chemicals used or stored on site except in normal household quantities. No use of fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides. Non-salt de-icing methods may be used on site. And those are generally the ones that I've been seeing, but as I go through this and draft something up for our next meeting, I'll also communicate with the applicant to make sure that, we're both on the same page by the
with the
next,
conditions,
by the
okay.
next meeting.
All right.
And can I just address the pilot agreement? Just for the board's knowledge, we're meeting with the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday, the 5th.
Okay.
We have a draft pilot in place that they will be reviewing.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Okay,
Good work.
anything further for us?
Thanks,
Thank you very
guys.
much.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you very much.
appreciate
All right, good night. Time is 7:30.
Yeah, you're good, Joe.
Get all this stuff out of the way.
Did I not get you a pen? You can have mine, I don't write that much.
Stop. It must be the paper.
No, it's the table. Yeah. No, it's you.
I got my own.
You have your own pen? Now, look at that.
Even better. I just started tasting and smelling it.
So this is my right.
Oh, you got it all.
Pick up my phone, the other stuff.
It's wonderful.
Let's say I did it pretty good.
They move in the farm, the farmer's market.
We'll find out. It's in your office.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Just putting more on us. What am I doing? It's like I'm crazy. They said, parents bring their kids. It'll be wild. Yes.
Ernie,
Yes.
Bill wants your attention.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we all ready, board?
I'm ready.
All right, we'll move on to our second agenda item. Public hearing continued. ASD Wallum Mass Solar LLC, application for site plan review, 0 Wallum Lake Road. Public hearing is now
I
open.
can't hear you, unfortunately.
Can't hear you.
Move up.
Is that
All right,
Michael?
He's a
we're opening-
soft-spoken man.
reopening the public hearing for the Wallum Lake Solar Farm. Okay,
Why do these things ever work?
Bill?
The PA system is down, and I don't know what to tell you about that.
We need money from solar.
Okay, since our last meeting, I do want to point out, we have received some correspondence, aside from the fact that the applicant and I have been going back and forward as we have been throughout the project. We also received a couple of documents I wanted to point out that are in your packet. First, we got a letter dated February 12, 2019 from Senator McKenna, Senator Batman and Representative McKenna. So that's in your packet. It's a larger document.
Yep.
In addition to that, we did receive a citizen's petition dated February 4th, 2019, and it contains a number of signatures from residents. I did not tally them up, nor did the town clerk, as it's not something that we do, but nonetheless, it was submitted.
Yep.
And so I just wanted to first bring that to your attention before we get into the details of the project. If you want, I can read anything you want, or
What's that?
I can read these if you want, for the record.
You think it's necessary? I mean, we have it in our packet, and it's,
That's up to you.
if you want to read them, go ahead, Bill, if you think it's necessary.
I haven't heard the letter, Bill. Is there any way you could read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have
Okay.
glasses.
So I'll read the letter from the representatives first. Dear members of the board, As the state's delegation for the town of Douglas, we are writing regarding the proposed large-scale solar development on or adjacent to Birch Hill Road and Wallum Lake Road. We have recently heard from a large delegation of concerned residents regarding this industrial-sized solar project abutting a residential neighborhood and local watershed district. In response to similar projects in other communities we represent, we had previously contacted the Department of Energy Resources, DOER, to express our concerns with projects that have a significant potential impact on private residences and natural resources. While the department does not formally weigh in on the merits of individual solar developments, appropriately seeing them as matters of local control by respective town boards with the authority to accept or deny such proposals, we were referred to by DOER to their guidance entitled Model Zoning for the Regulation of Solar Energy Systems. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, which is enclosed with this letter. The Model Zoning for Regulation of Solar Energy Systems does outline a number of considerations and concerns pertinent to this project, primarily deforestation, watershed impacts, and significant environmental changes are highlighted as deserving of the highest consideration by a town's planning board as well as Conservation Commission. While the DOER guidance does not expressly prohibit clear-cutting of forests, it does discourage such deforestation areas of high impact such as watersheds. Given this project's location on a steep side slope draining directly to Wallum Lake, which serves not only as the town of Douglas' largest resource, but also the drinking water supply for the neighboring town of Burrillville, Rhode Island, and the proposed elimination of existing natural resources in the form of forest clear-cutting, we have concerns as to the merits of this project regarding those focus areas outlined in the model zoning for the regulation of solar energy systems. Additionally, in 2016, the state took legislative action to update its Renewable Energy Reimbursement Program, Chapter 75 of the Acts of 2016. Information on this program is enclosed and can be found on the state's website. This update incentivized long-term sustainable and cost-effective solar development in the Commonwealth. Even under the generous incentive program, large-scale industrial solar projects that impact watersheds or wetlands or that result in the loss of land and natural resources, including trees. I'm not sure where that
I don't
is.
have the rest of it.
It's
all we
within
got.
it, I think.
No, we got
Is
more.
it halfway through?
Yeah.
Yeah, my copy
I saw
has the
the
rest of it,
back.
Bill. Let me find it.
You read the back.
I apologize.
Oh, I got it here somewhere.
Blackstone was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nonetheless, I think you get the gist of it. Do
Yeah.
you have it?
I have pictures.
Thank you. Let me continue. Including trees that mitigate watershed management issues are discouraged through a deduction in the financial incentives provided. Alternatively, the state heavily favors such projects as solar arrays located on the roofs of parking garages, large flat-roofed industrial buildings, or existing brownfield sites. Finally, we believe the great consideration should be given to the residents of Shore Road, Birch Hill Road, Arnold Road, First Ave, Second Ave, Ritchie Road, Roslyn Road, Laurel Hill Road, Kenny Road, Reed Road, and Angel Road. Although all are not direct abutters to this project, in the truest sense of the word, they are all significantly impacted. This is a tight-knit lakeside community of single-family homes on private wells. Those who live here choose to do so to be in a beautiful, quiet, and undeveloped neighborhood. This industrial development being proposed in a quiet residential neighborhood will disturb that way of life. It will have an untold impact on stormwater drainage and runoff, especially regarding the integrity of their private wells. Additionally, this development will present a severe detraction from the visual aesthetic of the area, harming the property value of these residents. In closing, we thank you for your time and consideration on this issue. We have laid out, we are concerned about the size, scope, and economic and environmental impacts of the proposed industrial solar development. We respectfully believe that the Planning Board and Conservation Committee should tread slowly and cautiously to ensure all due diligence is performed for the benefits of all residents of the town of Douglas, first and foremost, in respect to this proposal. Please do not hesitate to contact us with questions or concerns. Do you want me to read the citizens petition?
That's brief.
It's a paragraph.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We, the undersigned residents of Town of Douglas, Massachusetts, petition the Douglas Planning Board to deny the issuance of a site plan review permit for the proposed 11.2 megawatt AC ground-mounted solar facility entitled ASD Wallum Lake Solar LLC, which is the current location of an approved residential subdivision entitled Lakewood Estates. We feel that the proposed solar array will have a negative impact on property values and will also be the source of negative environmental impacts, which include but are not necessarily limited to groundwater contamination, noise impacts, electromagnetic impacts, and stormwater runoff. February 4th, 2019.
Thank you, Bill.
There's over 100 signatures.
How many?
For the record, 105.
That's all.
All right, in reading that, do you have any comments on that?
Well, at this point, I'd say let's go through, get an update as to where we left it off at the last meeting.
Yep.
And we can address,
Yep.
I think we're on the same page with all the comments and whatnot, but.
Yep.
with
Yes,
that-
sir. For everyone's edification, I'm Evan Turner. I'm the representative for ASD Wallum MA Solar LLC, the applicant for the project. With me is Mr. Jeff Brandt from the engineering firm TRC, who was the engineer for this site. We have no changes from our previous meeting approximately 1 month ago. We have been over this project, I think, referring to, I'll go with the citizens petition. The items they all raised were legitimate concerns. I think we have addressed those at length over the previous 6 meetings over the last 4 months. And I guess I'd ask the board if they have any concerns. Let me go through them item by item at the moment. So, groundwater contamination. I know one of the board members had questions about the type of panels we would use relating to cadmium telluride thin film panels, thin film panels. We will not be using those. Those do have cadmium telluride, which is not a wonderful chemical, but they won't be on site, so absolutely not going to use them. Happy to have that, of course, as a condition. Otherwise, it's just the standard sealed silicon solar panel. Anecdotally, so far as any kind of environmental concern to those panels being in the field, there is an incentive program category to literally float those on water at scale. So there is no concern from a state or regulatory standpoint of any kind of groundwater issue from those panels themselves. And of course, the racking is just galvanized steel. It will sit there forever. And the rest of it is normal gravel roads, that sort of thing. Any question, I guess, does the board have any concerns about the groundwater contamination listed in the petition?
Well, we've addressed, I'm sorry, the ground inverters, which contain some oils and fuels, and
Yes, sir.
fuels, but oils. And you talked about a curb, a concrete curb around and a containment of that.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure that the audience hears what's before us, and that of the highest concern is obviously that. And if is there any kind of, like in my basement, I have a water thing with ADT, and if the water goes, I get an alarm. Is there an alarm on that?
There are multiple alarms on all of our electronics. So the hub of this system is the pad with the inverters and the batteries. All of those are monitored around the clock. Like one of the design elements we had was, we take the battery pad, we put a lip on it, just in case something were to leak, and there really isn't anything to leak. But if you have a fire, it's always possible for something electric to have a fire. Automatic, notification to the fire department and the maintenance crew, automatic shut off, and of course containment, both in the units and on the pad itself. And we've been back and forth with the fire department at length on what they wanted. That's part of how the design in, the larger road, the straight shot to the inverters, But otherwise, they're sealed units, you shouldn't have to touch them for 15 years.
Just so I want to bring that out so the audience knows that we've been, as a board, responsible to the people, that we brought up some of these issues, and of course, any other issues we want to bring up as well.
Yes, sir.
But, you know, like, we're talking about the issue of electromagnetic, and you had an engineer report that, and what was the report of that? Because that's on here.
As
So-
expected, no concerns. We put solar panels right on top of people's houses in the exact same configuration, but smaller. Relative speaking to the quantity of electricity used, more power is on the power lines every day, all the time, than all of this array put together, because we will plug into the power lines at their current voltage. We are extending the normal residential poles, all 3 phases to the site, down Walnut over from Southeast Main. But otherwise, it's the same power on the poles. You know, by way of example, those poles have all of that power concentrated right above your head, all day long. So from an electrical standpoint, there is no concern about solar. It's just the same wiring that's in your house, using your laptop, staring at the microwave. Does the board have any concern with that report we submitted, I think, relatively early, second or third meeting?
No.
Roger. Noise impacts, we have, the array itself, of course, during operation makes no noise. The inverters have a little bit of a hum to it, generally inaudible at 50 feet. And we had the noise study for that, as well as, we put fencing next to the inverters just to, suspenders and belt there as well. And they are several, I think 300 plus feet into the site. I'd have to do the measurement there from the top. But they are, well into the middle of the site, not up next to anyone's property. Any concerns with our previous work there? Thank you. And then the stormwater runoff is, the big thing that we've been over with fine-tooth comb with Bill. The project has certainly evolved as we've increased the wetland setbacks through the Concom with, more wetlands than we originally thought, into the full buffer, as well as, going through these check dams to slow the water down near the top of the hill, the diversion swales here to shunt it a little bit south to go into our relatively large-sized pond at the bottom. Bill, I think you've been back and forth with Jeff and their stormwater experts pretty at length. Do you have any, more concerns besides, the potential here for the erosion that we've discussed?
That's my primary concern with erosion on the site. I do want to say that the project, all the scope of the work is beyond the 100-foot buffer zones to all the wetlands, and I think they did that with Concom at the onset. And they still, even though they did that, they still were designing as though they were within those buffer zones from a stormwater perspective. So it's a more conservative design, in other words.
Did Concom issue an order of conditions?
Negative already.
We had an
didn't
ORAD
answer.
to determine the wetland line, and then we've just stayed out of that.
Okay, so,
To
So you
so
determine,
you're not even impacting.
I can ask you, determined a negative, and a negative is a good thing?
ORAD.
No.
ORAD, what's that
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Order of resource area delineation.
He's outside the buffer.
They're outside the buffer.
It's basically to set where the resource areas are, Aaron.
Okay, no, I just wanted everybody
Yes.
else to hear it.
So can I just add to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Over the last number of weeks, we did get some communication back and forth from the DCR, Kerry Vanden Acker and some other folks at the DCR. They had some stormwater people reviewing the plans, and so they had a list of questions. I forwarded them to the applicant. They responded to the DCR. They had a little back and forth, and I think the bottom line was the DCR didn't have any further comments.
And they asked a lot of questions that were on target, but there were things we asked in the board in the first and second
Yeah,
meeting.
okay.
The same sort of, get right to it, conservative design questions
Okay.
that I think we have, covered, especially in the first 3 meetings.
Okay.
So
You
the
must-
DCR has jurisdiction over the lake? Or what is Department of Conservation and Recreation?
I think they just.
They do.
So
Yes, they have.
So we've contacted them, we've talked to these people.
Do?
Yeah. Or you have.
I mean, it was, you want to go first?
Yeah, Kerry reached out to me. He's the local DCR representative. He oversees the state forest and the parks. They run the park at Wallum Lake.
Okay.
There's also land that they control that's abutting Wallum Lake that's not abutting this project, but close to this project. So Kerry was concerned about stormwater, going into the Wallum Lake, as well as the state's property. So, which is why he reached out to me, and I forwarded it to the applicant, and they had some back and forth.
That's good. Very
And ultimately, they seemed satisfied from my perspective.
I think what, the last email I had for them was, it's sometimes tough when you see the site and you don't see necessarily everything around it. We are 800 feet from the lake with several properties, that aren't mine to speak for in between. Most of that here will be, permanently protected wetlands, especially now that we've delineated. There's no question of where they are, and those will, of course, remain. I think a good segue there onto that, we're not in the jurisdiction of the DCR. We're just a normal piece of property. We're not we're adjacent, broadly speaking, to the watershed type of stuff. We're not in it. It's just a normal piece of property, just like the subdivision was permitted beforehand. And we've, I believe, gone to pretty extensive lengths to ensure, especially on this northeast side, that we are as visually screened off as we can, between the relatively thorough plantings that we covered, mostly in the third meeting, and then as well as the wooden fence, around the entrance there and the plantings at the street.
Correct.
And all the power lines are underground, that sort of thing, we think is the right way to do things, just regardless of the process.
Mr. Chairman?
We'll be taking questions after the applicant does his presentation, okay? So we'll let that go. The board will have his questions, and we'll take questions from the audience.
I do
Thank you.
appreciate the letters from the representatives and the senator.
Senator and Representative.
Senator, and they were on target for the board's concerns. Be
yes.
conservative, be patient. I think we've been over this, pretty thoroughly. Things to, I guess, reflect that, may not be as focused on in those letters. It's not a permit, it is a site plan review, so largely, focused on the design. And, the landowner in this case, while we don't love the idea of, the trees going away, that is the necessary reality for the solar array. That is otherwise allowed by right, similar to what you might, you wouldn't clear like this in a subdivision that was here, but you get a lot of it in the same manner. Of course, you'd have all the same human habitations and the things that go with it, pervious surfaces, etc. So we are, as an applicant, very comfortable with the necessary reality of having to cut the trees down, but we feel for environmentally positive and relatively low impact use.
So you missed the first item on the petition, which is the negative impact on property values.
So relative to a site plan review, I do not have an opinion on property values. I don't make the market. I can't put myself in a position to be responsible for it, up, down, left, or right. But one of the reasons we put in all of these, plantings, all of the full buffer, the reason we didn't scrap and fight, to get closer to the edges, and we took the buffers because out of sight, out of mind is what we consider to be the right way forward. Given it's an allowed use, I don't want to have to, try to push the issue right up next to people's houses. So, 30 and 40 feet of buffer, full wooden fences. The way the site slopes down, this is our high point, this is our low point. You will be continually looking over it from Birch Hill. I don't see it, and here you won't see it regularly. It is possible if you try from those houses, you might see some during the winter on the backside. I can't perfectly, tell you how the tree is. In the summer, you'll have zero visibility. We're going to keep the, front here re-vegetated after we're done with construction and the construction entrance. And it goes downhill, you generally will not see it. So I've actually one of our neighbors here, I spoke to him a couple meetings ago. He was pretty excited about the project. He was our closest abutter with the solar. It didn't bother him one bit. Now, obviously, he's maybe in the minority, given our audience, but...
What was his address?
I don't have the address handy on this one.
Wallum Lake Road?
Yeah, right there, that first one along Wallum Lake Road to the north, just south of our entrance.
So I guess as a board, with this special permit site plan review, we have to determine, is this detrimental to the neighborhood? So I guess you have to prove it to us that with these 105 signatures, that it's not detrimental to the neighborhood for us to be able to vote positively on the permit.
So in that regard, I would say that's why I sympathize with the neighbors' concerns about the changing nature of the community. The landowner has the right to use the land. We have setback from all of the neighbors very thoroughly. As obviously you have to have a way to get into the site, But other than that, we are hundreds of feet from the nearest border to the property, and further a little bit to all the houses. I would not, property values are not something I'm willing to speculate on because I'm not responsible for the market or other people's decisions. And strictly speaking to the site plan review criteria, it's not in there. I know it's a big concern of all the neighbors, and it does encompass a lot of general concerns. Say one of those might be wellhead strength. We had a previously approved subdivision here that would have done much the same to the property with more wells. We will have no wells. I mean, that's relatively lower impact. It is not a
Septic.
Yeah, it is not a permit to cut the trees down at the end of the day as well. Should the landowner wish it, not that they generally do and have a motivation otherwise, but a forest cutting plan would allow them to cut all of these trees down at their discretion. So that would be part of this process, obviously, to go from forest to field, but otherwise that's not even a site plan review, that's a forest cutting plan. So I think that falls well within the realm of the landowner's right to use the property, and we've done, to the maximum extent practical and possible.
Well,
all
it's
the
not as of
screening we can.
right, because they have to get a
Site.
permit, so
Yeah,
it's,
we have to go through
if
site plan
you
review.
need to prove to the board that it's not detrimental to the neighborhood,
I guess then the question
with
would
the
be,
thresholds.
to a straw poll here at the moment, do members of the board feel like, after our meetings and with all the information considered, that this is detrimental to the community to an extent that it is not votable?
Okay,
No.
Excuse me.
No.
I do.
Bill, I believe.
Go ahead, Bill.
yeah, a couple of things. Number one, site plan review is a by right use,
Yes,
okay?
yes, it is.
It's something that can be reviewed and conditioned
Yeah.
by this board.
Correct.
Unless there's a safety issue. If there's a safety-related issue, you do have the ability to take that up and under consideration. But generally speaking, site plan review is not something that gets denied, it's something that gets conditioned
Yeah.
from a permitting perspective.
Correct.
It is not a special permit, which is not a by right use. So that's number one. Number two, it's the board's prerogative to offer their opinion or not regarding the polling. Yeah, so.
I mean, it's one of those deals where I'm looking at it as, it's legal for a landowner to decide to do a project like this. I mean, it's in our realm that we can say yes on this, and then worry about it later down the road, they can worry about it. But I mean, he's following everything that we've asked him to do, everything.
I think,
So-
if I may,
It's one of
gotta
the-
wait, just gotta wait. I mean, excuse me. I can't address, the chair would have to address you. So, nobody likes the project, as taking out trees. Nobody loves that. No one supports that. But there is ownership rights of land rights here. The fact whether it hurts or it doesn't support property values is definitely not for us per se. The fact is that, and I'm not supposed to, I'm out of bounds here if I speak as a citizen, put that hat on. The town that doesn't have funding to support libraries, can't support their schools, property values plummet. The fact is, this is a new thing in the last 20 years. We didn't have this in the 60s or the 70s. We don't have the industries in certain areas. This is not our decision on that. But I'm just speaking as a citizen. Nobody loves this. But they have a right, I suppose, they have a right, and we have a right to grant it. But we also have a right for the town to succeed and survive from a financial standpoint. This provides tremendous amount of support to the town and buoying the sort of property values because we have facilities, because we can afford to keep our police, our fire, our schools, and our libraries. Now, nobody wants to hear, everybody thinks that's a false thing. That could be, go with the wall down there, that we have to think in the future. I don't love it. I'm a tree guy. I own a farm and an orchard. But I'm on this board, and it's kind of a lousy place to be. And maybe you won't buy our apples, but whatever. But it's what we have to, it's what's before us, is what we have to talk about. And I'm not saying I love this, but it's what we were voted on to do for you and with you. So that's all I can say.
Excuse me, please. May I talk now, Ernie?
I'll let you talk right now. I'm not going to take a lot of questions from the audience
No, I
yet.
just want to talk. You'll let me talk, I'll talk. You gonna let me talk?
I would like to finish up with any of the board's concerns. I'd also like to,
Let the
Bill,
board,
if we
let the
could-
board do their job first, and then we'll take concerns from the audience, Louis, okay? Thank you.
Bill, I guess I'd like to cover, sort of in detail, since it's going to be obviously a lot of conversation about it, the site plan review criteria in the bylaw. What we have to meet, what we have meet. So, item by item, because I think it's going to be somewhat important here when I obviously reflect for myself and my landowner on the by right use with appropriate design.
Correct.
Primarily considering safety and then all the other things we've discussed.
Right.
I'm willing to go right down the bullet list, of what I think we've hit them all. So if that's something we can do, before we would move forward, say after the public comments, that's fine. But I would like, if necessary, to go right down that list, for all the judgment criteria to get a site plan review done.
Generally speaking, I mean, I think we've already done that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I- I've generated my letters to the applicant, which
He's
line by
responded to.
line go by the regulations.
Right,
Yeah.
They respond to it, and we go back and forth until the issue is resolved.
right.
So at this point, all the issues in the letter have been addressed.
Yep.
So from a regulatory perspective, we're at a point where they've addressed all the parts of the regulations that require being addressed from a technical perspective.
Right.
Now it becomes an issue for the board to discuss, maybe talk about conditions, talk about things that are important to them relative to the
I
project.
agree. That's the way I want to run it.
Roger that. So
Yeah,
I guess
I mean-
my understanding, it is the board's judgment that I have met the site plan review criteria. I guess that question of the straw poll concept.
Yeah.
We certainly can talk conditions, that's all on the table. But otherwise, for a by right use, I'd like the, I guess, understanding that I have performed correctly.
I would say you have.
Well,
But
let me just say,
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
perhaps there's someone that has a different perspective on the regulations that we haven't
Yes.
considered.
Right.
Which is fair.
Yes.
And, we should consider that
Well,
before we
100%.
make an assertion that, in fact, they meet it or don't meet it.
Right.
We have to hear the audience.
Speaking on that issue, like you said, you've been comments back and forth. My biggest concern is the stormwater management, is the runoff, is the protection of the lake and the community. That's my prerogative on this project, to make sure that that does take place and that nothing happens to that lake or those people in that area. And with reading over all that you and Bill have gone back and forth on, it seems to me that all the issues that have come up on that have been addressed. I'm speaking for me.
Right, until the petition came in.
Agree with that or not.
Right.
But we have to listen to the,
Until the
We
petition
will
came
listen to
in.
the audience, but from our perspective, from the board's perspective, and what we've been doing back and forth, what Bill's been doing back and forth with the applicant, and my feeling is that he has addressed all of the issues that have come up as far as the project being there and being under control and not being a pollutant, not being a hazard to the community or the neighborhood. And that's where I'm speaking from as a board member, and that's what I'm looking at. I will certainly take all the concerns and questions from the audience, but we have to do this as a board with the applicant first before that goes to that stage. So that's my feeling on it right now.
I have an opinion, this is the last place in the world you'd want to put a solar farm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
we all agree with that. Generally agree with that, but.
Well, then-
Yeah.
We can reject it.
No.
Well, I've only been on this for a while, so
Now,
I'm
I'm
still
gonna,
learning.
I'm gonna say one thing, is, we just passed a solar farm a couple of minutes ago. We've done a couple of them here in this town.
Not there.
Oh,
Not-
what is it? Just because it's not in your backyard, what if when it's in my backyard, all right? It's,
Shame on you for letting it go.
No, ma'am. This is
Hold
not
on.
going to turn into a conversation
deal is
between you and the
this,
board.
is-
You will be recognized if you raise your hand, and I will take your comments.
we understand,
We're going to do the board's business first.
we understand the concerns, but our job is to look at what's presented and say yes or no. And then if somebody wants to take them to court over it, go right ahead. But that's not our job. We cannot deny you as a landowner to come forward with a project if it meets all the criteria. and it's been meeting our criteria so far.
Okay, let's,
So-
don't speak to them, don't, I mean, that's.
It's one of those
give your
deals
opinion.
where, that's the way I feel about it.
Please.
All right, I'm
And
gonna
I'm
let
ready
him,
for a vote.
I'm gonna let him continue with, I'm gonna let him continue with his presentation. Go ahead.
I guess other than understanding how the board feels, I think I've heard from just about everybody but you, sir. Then I think we can unleash the floodgates.
Why are we letting him drive the meeting?
Yeah, don't drive the meeting, because I
Okay.
feel like we're being pointed on.
Yes, sir.
You
Very
know,
well.
I mean,
Then I just, I'm trying to get an understanding
I
of the
understand where you're
concerns.
coming from, but, you know,
let's do it then.
again, I'm gonna say, nobody loves this, but whether they have a right or not, it's in the writings and it's under doctrine
Yes, sir.
of what we need to do, but no one loves this, you know. I mean,
Okay.
it's-
Do you have anything else to present? If you
No
have,
changes.
okay. And Bill, any further comments on what's been presented to you?
No, we've gone
Okay.
back and forth
Yeah.
many times.
I see, and it seems to me from what I read that all the answers, all the questions have been answered or the comments have been addressed.
They've been addressed.
Okay. You do have a set of conditions that you haven't drawn up yet, but we will have
Again,
a set of
this is in
conditions.
the same category as that last one.
Yeah.
I've solicited input from other towns
Yeah, okay.
to see what a good set of conditions are over the next few weeks, assuming it's approved. If it is, then I'm going to start preparing a template
Okay.
of standard boilerplate conditions for
Very good.
projects like this.
Because we're going to see more of them.
So,
I think
you know,
we're
I
gonna
don't know
need
how
that.
this is going to go, but
Hey, may I
Okay,
approach?
now,
May I talk?
yep, now I will take comments and questions from the
Not
audience.
allowed.
I will take comments and questions from the audience. They will be addressed to the chairman.
Yes.
Through the chairman, and if we can get a response and an
Can I
answer,
do
we
that
will
now?
do that. I reckon, please give your name and address,
Louis
please.
Tizzino,
Thank you, Louis.
14 West Street.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay, go
Number
for it.
one, it's not allowed.
I'm sorry?
What's allowed, excuse me, let me explain it this way,
Yep,
Mr. Coniff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not allowed. It can be allowed if you allow it. Number one, Mr. Coniff can tell you that. It's only allowed if you allow it. Now, when he came up with the first one, it wasn't this company, and these guys do a great job. Professionals, that's what they do. Great job. That thing there is fantastic, maybe. But it's not allowed, because all these people here say they don't want it. Okay? It's not allowed.
Okay.
It's allowed if you say it's allowed. Now, if you want to go against all these voters,
God.
okay? And if you want to do that, that's your business. Now, the first one, nobody here complained about. You know why? It was in the middle of the woods, not around these people's property, okay? And they did not care. Am I right, people? Am I right? Okay. This is their homes and they care. And don't tell me it's allowed because it's not.
Thank you.
Okay? It's only allowed if you people allow it.
correct.
Okay, now, if you go to Sutton, Sutton says, hey, if you want to put up a solar farm, you put it up over here. That's where it's allowed. You can't put it up over here because it's not allowed over there. But in Douglas, we say you can put them up any place. But they're not allowed any place. They're only allowed when this board wants to go against all these people who've got property and houses up there. So don't tell me it's allowed. And you know that, Bill. Don't say it's allowed. There's no place that says it's allowed.
Ernie.
All right.
Is it allowed? Is it allowed?
It's allowed.
Or not allowed?
It's
We don't
not
know.
allowed.
It's allowed.
And he knows that.
Yeah, but the chairman, and I'm a new guy, is
Yeah.
saying it's allowed.
Don't
Why
matter,
would
new
you
guy,
say it
old
isn't?
guy, don't matter.
I don't know, because I'm learning.
Well, I'm
right?
telling you, we don't have
No, no, no.
zoning. We don't,
No, no.
I got the floor, sir.
You got the floor.
I got the floor.
We'll address.
Okay, now, if you want to take it away from these people say, I don't want a solar thing in my backyard.
Not there, I don't want to have.
Hey, please.
I want to have Wallum Lakes.
Right. They don't want it in their backyard. Let's go put it in your backyard. They don't want it. And you guys are trying to jam something down their throats.
All right, we're not jamming anything down anybody's throat,
Of
Louis.
course you are, but you
No,
know what?
No, you let me speak now. We have had an
I still got
application
the
come
floor,
before
sir.
us.
I got the floor.
No, you have the floor as long as I
gave me
say you have the floor.
I got the floor till I get through talking.
You asked me if it was allowable. I'm going to answer your question. It is allowable. They have come to us with an application that is allowed to be a site plan review application.
It's not allowed. There's no place in your zoning, and believe me, I know the zoning, that it's allowed.
Okay.
You can make it allowed, but it's not allowed.
All right, you've made that point. If you have anything further.
Okay, now, why would you go against these people who got houses there?
We're not going against
Of
people.
course you are.
You're trying to make this a personal vendetta between this board and these people.
Yeah, don't do
That's
that.
not the way it is.
They voted us in, we're trying to do the best.
We have a job to do as a board, and
Of
we will
course
do
it's
our job.
personal. It is personal.
You're trying to make it a personal vendetta. It's not, we are a board that
You guys just gave
has been presented with an application, and we will review the application and make our decision.
$400,000 home, and you're putting solar panels in his backyard.
All right, Louis, you've made your point. Do you have anything further to discuss about this? That
It's
point has been
allowed.
made. That
So
point's been
This
made.
means we have to sue the town plus them, right?
You can do that if you wish to.
Okay, you know, sooner or
That's
later,
what you're gonna force us to do?
Next.
sooner or later, you know,
All right.
someone's gonna get lucky.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
okay.
Now,
Please don't vote for this. I'm asking the board, don't vote for this.
okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Your name and address, please.
Sonia Baraki, 15 Angel Road,
Okay,
Douglas.
go ahead.
I just moved to Douglas a year ago. Now, what is the normal procedure when something is going on in the town? I mean, is it posted on a bulletin board?
Yes.
Do you have in the town hall?
It's posted on the website, on the public access channel, and it's posted at the town hall.
So I just found out about this, and they tell me this is the 6th meeting.
Correct.
And I found out about it 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So it's on a website and it's posted.
It's posted and it's on the public access
Anything at
channel.
all
And if you're in
going on
a
in
butter,
town.
do they get postings like
Yeah,
zoning?
if you're in a buddy, you would have got a notice. I don't know if
If
you're
you're
in a
not
butter or
within the
not.
distance, you don't.
Where do you live?
Angel Road, I'm more
Okay, yeah,
than
you're not in a
600
butter.
feet
Okay.
away, which is what I was told they only sent notices to. But I can step in front of my house and see where it's gonna be.
If you were in a buddy, you would have got a notice. If you're not in a buddy,
300 feet,
huh?
you only got a notice if you are 300 feet or closer.
Correct. Correct. But any information you want to know about public meetings or anything that's going on in town, you can find out by going to the website or by coming to the town hall and looking on the bulletin board. It's posted.
That was my question.
Yeah, all meetings are posted. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Mike A., 22 Reed Road. And I believe if we go back to the point that Mr. Tessino tried to raise, and which you were attempting to refute, I believe if we reference Senator Fatman and Representative McKenna's letter, they very clearly stated that within regulations, it is discouraged for these solar arrays to go within watershed areas. Given that this is a watershed area, not only for my home, but for the state of Rhode Island and the town of Burrillville, I don't see where anybody can say that this is an allowed usage of this property.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
The watershed?
It's not in the.
Yes, sir. It's outside the watershed.
It's outside the watershed? It's not in the watershed.
21 Birch Hill Road.
Live and learn.
Relative to your comment to the economy of the town, I had the pleasure 25 years ago serving on the town's master plan implementation committee. And if anybody ever reviewed that document from 25 years ago, they will note that they basically said the town will choke itself if they don't do anything about industry. And this town really hasn't done an awful lot about bringing industry into the town. And I just don't think we should sell our future by populating the town with solar panels because it's fast and easy money. Because you have, and again, no offense, you have folks coming to us saying, oh, I want to put a solar panel in, you'll make money, as opposed to us investing in advertising the town to bring in industry. We failed at that. And I think relative to the planning board, in my mind, it's your obligation to protect the way of life of the town. The reason a lot of people, when we moved to this town, there were 5,000 people in. Now there's what, 8,500?
I think so,
Most
yeah.
of those people moved in here for two reasons. One, property was relatively expensive, which is no longer necessarily true. And the other one is a way of life. The fact that you built in a community that value open space and land and the lake and just the environment that we have. And again, I'm not against solar, but I'm against solar in my backyard. Stop by tomorrow at 21 Birch Hill Road, sit in my living room, and you'll see where you're gonna, all the flags, you'll see where the solar panels are gonna be. because when all the leaves come down on the tree, I can see into Rhode Island. Thank you. You feel free.
I'm sorry?
Just like having subdivision.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please.
My name is Cheryl Gilmain. I have 1 Reed Road and 3 Reed Road. My question is that they're going to maintain all the maintenance for these solar panels for 15 years, correct? They're going to have money put aside to maintain them. So I understand. What happens if they go bankrupt? Who maintains that? Is there money held somewhere to have somebody maintain them as the land erodes into the lake?
There is a term, yeah, go ahead, Bill. You can-
Decommission.
it's a-
Yeah,
Decommissioning
if
process.
this is approved, we will have a condition that requires an outside professional's estimate to decommission the facility, which means basically dismantle it and dispose of it properly. So basically, in my understanding, based on what I'm seeing, we're looking at about $35,000 per megawatt. But that's an estimate, and, you know, we'd have an outside consultant tell us what that number is.
And that money's held somewhere?
They would post surety, and there's a number of ways they can post surety to assure that we can decommission the site.
Okay. And then what happens if the erosion goes into the water, into the lake? What happens there? How much money could it possibly take to fix Wallum Lake, the most beautiful lake in this whole
We can
area?
certainly set aside some funds as a condition to ensure that we have the ability to maintain stormwater facilities in the event of a catastrophic issue. This would not be routine maintenance. It would be if there were some sort of ongoing issue or failure that needed to get addressed. So that's something I would suggest we talk to somebody also about.
Something we could put in a condition.
Yeah, I might suggest, a formulaic value by megawatt DC to be put into the towns just in cash.
Yeah, I would suggest if we're going to get somebody for the decommissioning, we just tack this on and get a suggestion on a value.
I'm not done yet. so-
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
What about, I just bought land in a house at Wallum Lake, off of Birch Hill, so that I could enjoy the forest, the water, go out on the water. I don't know where this gentleman lives. Obviously, I don't think he lives in a wooded area and knows how nice it is. But, you take all that away, and you're out on the water, and you're looking through the woods at the different animals and the birds and everything else. That's gonna be gone. And they're taking that all away. People come from all over to go to Wallum Lake. It's beauty. Movies were filmed on Wallum Lake. How can you just do that? There's so much property that has no trees on the highways, off the highways. Put them there. Why take away a beauty to this town? This is why I built here. I'm not a full-time resident yet, but I'm going to be May 1st, and frankly, I really don't want to move to this town because of that. It's a shame.
Okay, thank you. Just for your knowledge, this area of land was already slated for a development for 20-something homes. So it would have been, either this project goes in or a subdivision goes in. So you'll have 20 more wells, you'll have 20-something more septic systems as opposed to this. So it's not like it was going to remain, it was not going to remain a piece of grown forest in natural habitat. It was going to be developed one way or the other. The other alternative was homes.
I drive down Route 16 from Uxbridge into the Milford area. You look at all these nice locations that didn't have solar panels. Everywhere you look on Route 16, you look at a solar panel. It's like, hello?
Yeah, I know, nobody likes them. Okay, I'm going to take a few more questions, then we're going to move on to board business. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
George Bruce, 11 Birchill Road, 18 Birchill Road, 4 Buxton. I'm opposed to the project, definitely.
Yeah.
But I was at the first meeting, you talked about a 50-foot setback
for the property, and you were supposed to look at that in the wetland area and numbering the houses. Is the setback still 50 feet?
Beyond that now, go ahead, you can answer.
Yes, sir. So the 50-foot setback applies specifically to here on our Wallum Lake roadside down to...
Birch Hill, I'm looking at Birch Hill.
And then on Birch Hill, it starts out at 50 here for the first two houses where we're just looking at a driveway. After that, it's going to expand to, well, that's 100. So by the time I get past this first fifth house here, we're at about 250. Let's say we stay at roughly 250.
The fourth
and
house
then fourth house down, I'd have to get a ruler out, but I'm going to go with about 150.
Well, I'm opposed to it, and if it does go through,
Yeah.
I would hope that you would consider enlarging that to at least 250, 300. I mean, of course, they're gonna want as much land as they can, but if it's gonna go through, which I hope and pray you don't do it, I'd like to see it expanded to 500 feet, so I can keep, and everybody on Birch Hill Road can keep wooded area behind us, because that's why we invested there.
Thank you, George. Yes, ma'am.
Charlotte Gibbrey, 21 Birch Hill Road. I know you said you talked to the state, but did nobody talk to Burrville, who really maintains and is in more control of that lake than the Mass is, because that goes into 2 reservoirs of drinking water for them. But nobody seems to be concerned, and they really run that lake more.
We have not heard any comments from Burrville. And
They weren't notified of it, that's the thing. And they control that lake more than Mass does.
Bill?
We do notify the town of Burrville, and we also advertised the project in the public hearing process, so it was publicly noticed here at Town Hall, in the newspaper, as well as the surrounding towns.
What newspaper's bill, if I can
Burrville is
Worcester
aware of it.
Telegram Gazette.
Which is probably not read by...
Burrville doesn't, yeah.
You know, Burrville and people
That's what, we're in Massachusetts, that's what we do.
I get that, but they're our neighbor.
It's their, we notify their planning board. So.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, sir, in the back?
My name is Greg Logan, I'm 30 Wallis Street. I have a couple questions. First is, when you clear cut, things grow, so vegetation, what are you looking at to control vegetation first off?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So the process will be clear the trees.
What are you looking at?
We put down our grass or a wildflower under the whole array. And then, say, once a month, maybe during the summer, we would mow it. But for the most part, the grass doesn't be 2 feet high, and the panels start at about 2.5. So there generally isn't a ton of maintenance, not a ton of visits, because it just becomes a field that doesn't get hay.
So I clear cut some of my land, 2 acres. I can tell you right now, you're gonna get weeds that clearly cover your solar array. It's gonna happen.
So we mow in between the panels.
Right, you gotta do that like every other week, right? What's that? Who mows? Well, no, not, whatever. My concern is herbicides. Will herbicides be used at all?
Not allowed, and it'll be a condition that we don't.
Great. Okay, the next question is, if you're gonna put gravel down anywhere, these things need to be cleaned. What are you cleaning with?
Water.
What kind of chemical?
You generally don't have to clean them all. Rain is plenty to knock off the dust.
I have panels, I know, I understand, yeah. I wouldn't have done it the way I did it, but, okay, so no chemicals to clean. Okay, great. So then my other question would be, as far as how does the state make money, how does the town make money off of this project? How does the money flow?
Pilot program.
Why are we interested in letting it happen?
Right. We'll answer that question for you. Go ahead, Bill.
The town does, this would be a taxable use for the town, from the town's perspective. We are going, if it's approved, we are going to have a condition in the decision that requires the applicant come to an agreement with the Board of Selectmen on what's called either a pilot agreement or a tax increment financing agreement, where they would agree to a tax rate over the life of the project.
So there's no percentage, there's no...
It's a negotiated thing.
Okay, so when the numbers were brought forward, and this, whoever's trying to put this together, I'm sorry I'm coming late to this whole dance, but you guys, I'm sure you're aware of the solar, percentage of solar is being cut significantly. Again, I own solar, so we're down 7 to 9% since Harvard's now started to begin the spraying. Right? So we have atmospheric spraying.
Or 7 to 9.
Hitting solar big time.
79, I think he said.
And so you guys still think that you're still gonna make enough money to be around in 15 years, to be around in 10 years, to be around, right? So is this really worth it to ruin all this land, to piss off a bunch of people?
You don't have to answer that question.
Have you seen solar generation over the last X amount of months, years, whatever, that they brought to you and show you how profitable this is, right? Those aren't true numbers. Those are false numbers because we've started atmospheric spraying by Harvard. Harvard has said this. They're doing it. It's going to get worse. My solar's down 7 to 9%, and it's only going to get worse. So this is, for me, this is not a profitable thing to get into.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's Rob Dyke. I'm at 180 Wallum Lake Road.
Sorry. An answer of like, have you seen numbers? Is this profitable?
We haven't seen any numbers.
Myself personally, I have not seen any numbers. No, I haven't seen any studies from Harvard or anything. No, I don't.
Harvard, you can go look at whatever Harvard's doing. Like they've announced that they're doing it. Bill Gates is part of it. Like, my question to you is, have they brought numbers to you to say, this is going to be so profitable, you become tax?
No, they have not.
Okay.
No, they have not.
To me, it's like a business that's going to sink in 10 years. So then they go bankrupt, and then we're stuck with a clear-cut area that's...
How many of these they own?
I can't say they're going to go bankrupt. I haven't heard any information.
You understand if this is a good business move or not?
I appreciate your opinion and your information, but I don't know if they're going to go bankrupt or not. Just like any developer that comes into town and builds a project, they can have the project built and go bankrupt. It could happen to anybody, but it's not.
Right, so you have two decisions. You have one, I'm putting in 20 houses, or two, I'm putting in a bunch of solar. So as a town, we need to decide, is this a healthy thing, or is this a healthy thing? If they're both healthy, which one's healthier?
Yeah.
Looking at the numbers, I don't think it's a healthy thing. I love renewable energy. So as a board, shouldn't you ask now, guys, bring us some numbers on how profitable is this? Give us, give us some warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, it is. It's under our purview.
I don't have those numbers. I can't give you that information right now. No.
We should request them then.
Don't you ask for them?
I'm sorry?
You have to ask for them. You have to say, like...
That's beyond the scope of what the purpose of this board is.
That's not.
We're looking at a project.
It's beyond the scope of what this board does. We don't look for that.
Tracy's got something on this.
Well,
Thank you for your comments.
So the approval in the bylaw does, shall be granted upon determination after considering the qualities of the specific location, the proposed land use, the design of building form, yada, yada, yada. So it does address what the proposed land use is going to be and the quality of it and the quality of the specific
That's true,
location.
yes.
So that's,
Yeah.
I think that's boiling it down on his question, is this good for the town for the future?
Yeah,
And did they prove it to us that it was good for the town for the future?
Numbers I can't give them. Numbers I can't give you. I don't.
Houses, so you have solar. It's not you have just a yes or no. It's not just one thing. So now you're saying we're going to go with an A over B or B over A because of why?
Because it's the plan that's been proposed to us. The development that was coming in as houses.
You don't have all the answers though, is what I'm asking.
The subdivision has already been approved.
Just so everybody understands, the property, there is a property owner for this property, and it's actually a number of properties. It's probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 properties that comprise the site. That site already enjoys an approved subdivision. That site could get a permit from the planning board for a solar array. They could come in next week and get a permit for something else that's allowable on that site.
Church.
They could sit on all those things. They can pick one of them. They will have a permit to do what they want. That's their decision. Their current. Let me finish. They have the ability to obtain any number of permits for something to do on that property. That's their choice on which thing they would like to do. We only process their application. We review it, make sure it meets our regulations. If it does, we issue a permit. And it's as simple as that, frankly.
For the site plan review.
In this case, for the site plan review, previously for the subdivision.
Let's not work in a vacuum though, because we understand you're pissing off tons of people. And there's an option B, right? So I get it, like, so you can go and say, you can ask for a permit and say if it's granted, the first comment. This is not an automatic, it has to be granted.
Option B is not enforced, right?
The question is,
Subdivision?
is it good enough for the town to
It's
say
already a
yes to
subdivision.
Right, but it's
It's already been granted.
Right, but they're not planning to
There
follow.
are
It's
other options.
existing.
If somebody comes in with them, yeah. If some,
Being talked about, what do you mean, no one?
We can't deny this because we like the subdivision better.
No, we deny it because we piss off tons of people and it's not a good idea.
That's not a reason to deny it.
that's not a reason to deny it.
They either meet the regulations or they don't. And that's what this board is charged with.
But the town has to act for the people of the town.
We're bound by the regulations.
Right.
If they don't meet the regulations,
Well,
then
that's
we
a
can
letter
deny it. If
from
they
your
meet the
elected
regulations, we have to
officials.
have a reason to deny it, which we don't.
Which discourages putting it in the market area.
All right.
I have a question. If they don't meet the regulations, can we deny? If they meet the regulations, can we still deny it for other reasons?
Again, I wanna-
You should hold off and find that out.
Yeah.
we can certainly ask town council.
We need to
you know.
ask town
We can ask town
We can
council,
actually
but-
invite town council if
Right.
you'd like to the meeting.
But, I mean, no, for the most part, we can't, because it,
We should have clarity on that. Yeah, Tracy's got a point on this.
And the appeal is through
Adversely-
Chapter 40A, Section 17, which is, I don't know how this doesn't, it's falling under what, a permit?
I can't vote on this tonight.
As far as special permits go.
This is not a special
The
permit.
appeal is through a method of a special permit, through zoning.
if you want to appeal it.
Yeah,
You can certainly appeal it.
it's a little odd.
It is odd.
It's a little odd.
But nonetheless, it's not a special permit. I want to make that clear.
Yeah,
This is-
I
Yeah.
misspoke on that, because I don't know why you're appealing if it's not falling into a category of a special permit. There's no appeals means it's flawed.
There's a gentleman.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir, I'm sorry we took so long to get to you. Go ahead.
I actually, I'm opposed to the equivalent of an 8-story class office building being put on the side of Wallum Lake. I think it detracts from the whole town and what Wallum Lake has to offer. But primarily, I'm concerned that the town doesn't have the infrastructure to allow for a construction like this. We barely have enough of a road together to allow Pine to come down daily with their truckloads and their exhaust brakes going. The noise pollution's horrible, the road's falling apart. You've driven past the entrance, you put 20 trucks a day, in other words, double what Pine's already doing, that road's not gonna last into May, let alone through a construction. You guys are already extending the amount of time. I put it towards the board that it's not safe to allow the construction until Wallum Lake itself, the road, is repaired and fixed.
Which
It's
road?
not a safe road.
Which road?
Wallum Lake?
All right, thank you.
Which road?
Said Wallum Lake Road.
Okay, thank you.
Birch Hill. Talking all of Lake Road?
Yes.
One of them is tonnage limit on that bridge.
All right. I'm going to take just a couple more questions, and then we're going to...
Question, Chair?
Louis, he had his hand up first, I'll get you
The
next.
master plan guy did.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
You next after me, Lou. Joe Gibby, 21 Birch Hill Road. We, the town, relative to what other towns have done, from what I've read, Webster's done it. I think Charlton's working on it. In fact, I think Charlton put a moratorium on any solar panels until they can figure out where to be able to put solar panels. Correct me if I'm wrong, basically as things sit now, it's just that you come in, he applies for a permit, you can put a solar farm wherever he wants. Anywhere in the town. And he could put one here on the main street, he could put one out here in the parking lot if he wants.
It's my understanding that is correct. Under
Shouldn't be.
40A, Section 3, the Dover Amendment allows this use within zoning, even though it may not be perceived as complying with the zoning requirements of that particular district. It's allowable under the Dover Amendment.
And that's a state law
I
regulation.
understand that. I understand the state basically says you can put it wherever you want.
Yeah.
Right. They can put,
But other towns have taken a better approach to this and said, can I finish talking?
Yeah.
Can we have my conversation first, Louis? Thank you.
Yes, please.
I appreciate it. Can we put a hold brakes on this and decide what's in the best interest of the town, as Louis was pointing out, where we should put solar, so we're not dropping them on different parts of town and in people's backyards?
Not immediately. We can't just say we're going to stop it because
Why?
we don't like where it is.
No, Not that you don't like it where it is, but the fact that we have, what, 6 up already in town? And God knows how many are gonna come when they find out Douglas is this easy target, that they'll grab the money because they need the money to put the police on the road, pay their schools. So they're gonna start coming in and start putting in solar farms, but you guys are gonna say, fine, you meet the regulations, put them here, put them here. Something's gotta give somewhere.
Go ahead, Bill.
So,
as of right now, we.
Okay.
Selling the town to solar farms. Shouldn't we put a stop in it and say, you know what? This town has, what, 200-year history?
All right.
And we're destroying it.
All right.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Bill.
I would have to check with council on whether or not we could apply a moratorium on solar panels.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, assuming we could, I think this would be under that wire where it's already been filed. It would enjoy filing prior to any kind of bylaw change.
Not because they pushed it through.
And so, I mean, if the board wants to pursue that with town council, certainly we could do that. But outside of that, we don't have local rules and regulations governing solar facilities, and certainly we could work on that and proceed down that road. And, you know, as you say, if we want to have it at this area of town, we could designate an overlay district that's where solar farms go, that sort of thing.
With the state regulations they have right now, I mean, that would.
The state law
would
allows it pretty much as a by right use in any district.
So even if we did try to do that, the state law would probably oversee that and tell us, no, you can't do that because the state is regulating.
I'd like to, if we could, stay on the application.
Just
and
wait, because we're in a lot
But
of
we can certainly
turmoil here.
contact town council and ask about that. Yes.
Yeah, and furthermore, I think that was brought up before about by right or not by right.
Yeah.
I would like clarity on behalf of our neighbors that are out here. I'm not trying to grandstand or whatever. I'm just saying, that's come up as a question, and I want to know, bulletproof, do we have a right to deny it for reason of environmental, for reason of anything? Do we have right to, because you know what, we got 105 people out here that signed this thing that we need to be responsible for, that we were elected by.
Right.
And, you know, I think we're all human and we're all neighbors, that I can't just, by honesty, just approve something that has such opposition, that we need to get clarity from legal counsel next time. I can't vote on this tonight. There's no way, personally.
Okay.
There's just too much going on here. This is like,
well,
I'm red in my face.
What specifically do you want asked?
I'm not that good a guy, so.
Just saying, I want to know more.
What specifically, Aaron, do you want to ask town council?
I want to ask them, I heard things from the board, and I'm the newer guy, that if they meet all the criteria, they got it. I hear from the audience and some other people, not necessarily, that we have with the jurisdiction and we have the purview to take everything into consideration, especially the fact that I personally just don't like the location either. But I was told that you got to approve this because if they meet the criteria and they answer all these questions, I want to know from an attorney who represents all of us so I can sleep.
Okay.
That's my right on this board. I just want to be able to sleep at night.
It certainly is your right.
It's a good idea because we're talking about approving something that adversely affects hundreds of people perhaps.
These are our neighbors.
So it would be nice to know a lawyer's spin on what that amendment
This is
actually
not somebody's little deck on the side of their house affecting one person.
Go ahead.
I would definitely not vote tonight.
No, I wouldn't.
Myself.
I guess my question then being, if it is or wasn't allowed by right, why was the previous project approved? If it, I mean, it met the standards set forth, you obviously didn't have a question on that one, whether it was allowed by right.
I think the area is more sensitive here. This is way more sensitive.
As the applicant and the specific landowner representative, why are my land rights different?
Right.
Would you want it in your backyard?
No.
We're trying to ask some questions up here.
Why are my land rights considered differently based on other landowners? Some are butters, some not. They all, certainly everyone has a right to their opinion. Treated very differently. I understand the scrutiny. I wish we had started this discussion 6 meetings ago.
I do too.
That's the unfortunate part.
We've had plenty of time for people to be here, plenty of time to reach out to town council, plenty of time. I mean, there's never been a question if it's an allowed by right use. You didn't have it on the last project, which you would think, regardless of the neighborhood, you would take the same concern.
But look,
I'm aware of that, but I'm also aware that the landowner
Yeah.
has a right to use the land for an allowed use according to a certain set of standards that have been uniformly applied before on a number of projects. I'd expect that same treatment.
I understand that, but the
So-
senator, and they've also said, tread lightly, tread with discipline and review and confidence, and I just am feeling not
That's one
confident.
specifically.
As the applicant, here's, I guess, what I am looking for moving forward. I understand you guys aren't going to vote tonight. The applicant is requesting that we close the public hearing. We have no new information. We've been over this for 6 meetings on the fixed design. We have made every concession that the board thought was responsible and wanted. And of course, the board will have to consider and vote how it does.
Closing the
public
starts
hearing.
a clock? Does it start a clock?
So you're welcome, you can vote then afterwards, but once the public hearing is closed, the application, like that, it is complete. As the applicant, I am, after 6 meetings, after a very large amount of revision and review on all the items, stormwater, all the criteria in the site plan review that I believe, absent in a vacuum we have achieved, I have nothing new to present in that regard.
Okay.
So there's nothing new for the application. It is up to the board's discretion moving forward, of course, how to vote. But as a site plan review is not meant to be a denial mechanism. It is meant to be a design and safety mechanism. I don't see anything unsafe about the site. I think it's been, we can certainly check with council over the next meeting. But otherwise, the landowner has the right to do this just like they would a subdivision. The landowner is not offering it to a popular vote, what they are going to do with their private property.
I agree.
Ernie, may I have one word?
Bill, any comment?
Well, I just want to point out that the board does have 90 days after the close of the public hearing to make a decision. And I believe that they can consult with council in that time frame after the hearing is closed.
But no new material may be submitted to the board
No new material from the applicant.
from anyone.
You can ask for clarification on process from town council.
Okay, thank you, Bill. All right.
Take 2 more questions.
I would say anybody that wants to say anything better say it now, because we'll move to close
All
the
right.
hearing. That has some substance.
All right. All right. We'll take a couple more comments or questions, and then we will move forward. Gentleman in the back, you had your hand up first.
What's in hearing this? Keeps coming up, it's came up 100 times. This guy has a right to do what he wants with his property. I don't have a right to do what I want with my property. You can ask Gino next door, he put up a garage. How many people did he have to have the sign to say that it was okay that he put up his garage? And how many people are there going down Birch Hill that are saying, this isn't all right? And it is up to you people on the board. It's up to you to say no. And I'm gonna tell you one thing, all of you that are up there, one of them say yes, that's a vote for me gone. And as I'm sure it's a vote from everybody in here that you guys are gonna lose, guaranteed.
Okay, thank you. Louis, you have a question?
all I'm saying is that, you know, I don't even know this gentleman, but I'll tell you, if he ever's looking for a job, I'd like to hire him. Because he controlled you guys right to the T. He's closing, wait, he's closing the meeting. He's saying this, he's saying that. I don't understand what the hell's going on here. You don't have, do you have a regulation saying, in these words, that solar is approved? Have you got that in that book?
We're gonna find out.
Mr. Cunliffe, you read that book every damn day. Do you have that in that book that solar is approved?
Is that sentence in the book? No.
Yes, it is not. Do you have it in the book that is disapproved?
No.
No.
Neither way.
So you know what? It's this board that makes the decision, not that damn book. It's not in the book one way or the other. I went to that damn book word by word. It's not in the book. You people make the decision.
Okay.
And you people can do what you want. And that's what it's about. It don't say you can do it, and it don't say you can't do it. It says that you people got the right to do it. And you see these people here, they're not happy with you. Why would you want to piss all these people off?
We haven't done anything yet.
Right.
Right?
I thank you.
Right, we're not gonna do it tonight, so we're gonna listen to legal counsel and we're gonna get some advice and
Yeah, we're gonna have.
then we're gonna have to soul search.
No.
Remember our faces.
Yeah. I know a lot of us.
If you want to threaten the fact that you won't vote for me the next time I run for election, that's...
I really don't care.
I have a job to do, and that's what we will do as a board, so... we have no personal vendetta with you people. There's nothing personal here with us.
You do a good job.
We try to do a good job. We know you don't want this in your backyard. Nobody wants it in their backyard. But people come to us with projects, we look over what the project is, we look at the criteria of the project, and we say yes or no. This gentleman has a right to develop his land.
But it don't say he has that right in that book.
You may not like it, I may not like it, I wouldn't like it in my backyard either, but he has a right, they have a right to develop their piece of property.
100%.
And we can't say no to it just because the neighbor doesn't like it.
I'm for you. If it said that in that book, I'm voting for that man right now. And I'm sure all these people will too. But you know something? It don't say that. Put down your hand. You're gonna get me in trouble. Now, listen to me. Just let it go.
All right, that's...
But it's not.
All right. I'm going to call the meeting back to order, please. Yes, sir, go ahead. And I'll take you next, sir.
Has this gentleman closed the public meeting?
Requested it.
He requested, doesn't mean we can close
Board or his?
What?
Whose right is it to close the public hearing? The
We have to
board?
vote for
We
it.
have to, it's us,
So he
not him.
can't, even though he requested, it's your decision.
Right.
It's our decision.
He said he wanted the public meeting closed.
No, he did not say he wanted, he's requesting that we close the public hearing. That's what he requested. It's our decision, not his.
May I add to that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
If there are outstanding questions that the board has of the applicant,
Yes.
then you don't need to close the
No,
hearing.
we do not.
However, if your questions are answered and satisfied,
Yes,
then he has the right to ask for you to close the hearing.
correct.
Mr. Chair, is there a possibility that there is anybody that can answer in a poignant way property values relative to distance or anything around this? Is there any way, I might be a realtor, and we have other realtors here?
It's not
No,
within the
but
scope of this
is that a
project.
question? Is that a question that we can ask for by, just asking, it was brought up, and is it a question we can ask to not close the hearing, or what?
We can certainly ask that of town council if that's something.
That's
Town
another
council
question you
or
want to
something.
ask,
I want to know what town council tells us what we should do or not do, because, okay.
Clearly isn't gonna up.
You want that, one of the questions to be asked?
I don't know if it's a viable question. I mean, it's a question, though.
I don't
I
think it's in the criteria for
That's right,
approval.
right, it's not, that's not...
I think we need to
that's
really
not what this
stick
board
with
does.
what's under site plan approval.
Right.
And ask legal counsel whether we can deny this.
The
or not.
quality of the land use
Yeah.
and the quality of the proposed development. That's what's, that's what the wording is.
That's what
The
we
state
look
has
at.
chimed in, too. The
Yeah.
senator and all that.
That's what we look at.
Yeah.
I don't believe property values need to be reviewed.
I'm going to take one more question. Yes, sir, you had your hand up.
Again, Mike Gay, 22 Reed Road. And my question goes to what this smaller discussion has been about, which would be, I believe the land was approved for a 24-unit housing development.
Yeah.
Generally, the average value of a home in the town of Douglas is $375,000, give or take. That property value at the tax rate would generate approximately $100,000 a year in property taxes for the town of Douglas. Is this solar or in perpetuity? So that's like forever.
Well,
And actually more.
that's not necessarily true, because it may generate that amount of tax money, but you have a family that moves in with 4 kids.
You're gonna build another school?
You're not even paying for that now, you know what I mean?
Our schools aren't full to capacity. Our schools have more capacity to take on more students.
Okay, but I'm just saying,
I mean, so please, let's don't throw apples and oranges. Generally, a $375,000 houses, 24 of them would generate $100,000 a year in tax revenue for the town of Douglas.
Okay.
What is this solar array going to generate insofar as revenue for the town of Douglas, and for how long? Because the houses will be there forever. Solar array is going to be there for 15 years.
15 or 20?
We don't have the exact amount yet. They're meeting with the selectmen next Tuesday?
You should go.
No, that's the other
Oh,
one.
that was the other one. Have you met with the selectmen yet then?
So I'm not going to address, there are numbers that you pay a pilot agreement, it's for the
Yes.
duration of the project.
Right.
It comes out, it's no longer there, you no longer pay taxes, that's great. I am not going to talk about potential pilot payments, because it has nothing to do with the specific criteria of the array.
Okay. But that's
I understand there's a concern. There is value. It obviously comes without kids or schools or any of that stuff. It is appropriate. It is slated against your commercial property tax rate like everything else.
Yeah, okay.
And it has nothing to do with the array's design and safety and appropriate.
Have you met with the
Very well
selectmen yet?
answered.
That's all.
Not with the selectmen, no.
They've not met. Whoa, 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 whoa. 1 second.
As was stated, is a concern of the board.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question, sir.
Quality of development, as I heard stated in the side conversation that was a little bit soft, I had a hard time hearing it, but quality of development is one of the criteria by which this board makes a decision, yay or nay, as to whether or not they're going to say that this is a proper usage of this property. And if quality of development goes to the generation of funds for the value of the town, which is to my value, I live here, and I can't disagree with it on that basis, unless the quality of that is lesser through some pilot or tax incremental financing opportunity given to this developer.
This board we're not the tax assessors. We're not the people that do the pilot. We look at a piece of property, what the developer is coming in to build on that property, and we handle the scope of that project for the property. We don't do taxes. We just look at a piece of property and we determine if they meet all the criteria to develop that piece of property with the development that they're asking for. Taxes and all that other stuff is not our menu. It's not what we do.
But I understand what you're saying, Ernie, and I'm not specifically agreeing with you. But when I hear that it goes to the quality of the development certainly does speak to the funds that are generated by that development.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was meant by quality?
Mr. Chairman.
If they put in a good quality development, if it's a quality
Design,
if it's a quality, if it meets the criteria, then it's a quality development.
9.4.
They strike a sweetheart
And then
deal
the
with
next
selectmen
page.
for a good
Yeah, but that's not what we look at.
I know it's not you.
That's not what we do.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question? When it comes to the pilot program or some arrangement that this developer makes with our selectmen who are elected, is that a public thing? Is it a public discussion, or is it behind closed doors? Can these people all go to that? Whenever it is? When is it?
So I believe the process would be, and this is town to town, but this is consistent. Typically an annual town meeting. It has a warrant item to vote to authorize a town administrator or board of selectmen to negotiate a pilot of roughly this shape, the town's form document.
Just like we just did.
On behalf of the town.
Just like we just did with the marijuana facility.
That would be a public process when it is done.
No, but I'm just black and white. They're going to the selectmen soon.
Whenever they go, they
That's a-
negotiate.
that's a public-
It goes as a question on the warrant at the town meeting, and that's when it's voted
So
on.
it's not for a while until it goes to town meeting. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not like next Tuesday.
Oh, no. It has to go to annual town meeting or a scheduled town meeting. All right.
I have a question.
I'm just about done taking questions.
No, mine, please.
You're the last one. Go ahead. Name and address, please.
Laurie Lauritano, 5 Roslyn Road.
Yep.
And my question, I just want to know, the meeting goes on here, you approve it, okay, all these finances everybody's talking about, do they go out the window or do they go to other people to approve?
Finances?
The TIF for the pilot.
Pilot?
That goes
Yeah,
to
the pilot goes, the money
We have
goes,
nothing really to do with that. We will have a condition, if it's approved, that requires that they negotiate some sort of agreement with the Board of Selectmen.
which is a payment like a tax or whatever, but yeah, the town does get, we make money off of an industrial project going in, yes.
But that won't be known for a while.
Right.
Right.
Now, just to let you people know, I mean, we understand you don't want it in your backyard, but we can't just deny something because the neighbor doesn't want it. People come in with projects, we look at them, if they fulfill the criteria and they don't break any of the rules and regulations, it's very difficult for us to say, no, you can't do it. So, just so you know, we're not, it's nothing personal. It's no, we know you don't want it in your backyard. Nobody wants things like this in their backyard, but we can't, it's not, with all the other questions that you have about taxes and money, and we look at, is it going to be detrimental to is it going to cause damage to the property? Is there going to be runoff, stormwater? Is it going to pull? We do all of that to make, that's why this has been going on for 6 weeks, because the developer and our engineer have been going back and forth to make sure that it doesn't happen, to the best possible technology used to make sure that the lake stays clean and pristine, that wells don't get polluted. Stormwater management is a big, big issue and a big, big concern with Massachusetts, with the country, all over the place. And there are many rules and regulations governing stormwater. If you read what we've been going through for the last 6 weeks in the paperwork that we have, you know that we're looking out for your best interest. But we can't just say no to a project because you don't want it in your backyard. Some people might not want the other 24 houses that were supposed to go in their backyard. Right. But the developer, the owners of this property, just like you bought a piece of property and put a house on it, they bought a piece of property and it's allowed use for them to put this in there. So we have to look over all of it, make sure it's good for, a good project that's not going to do harm to your property. That's our biggest concern, to make sure that you don't get hurt by this. Just because it's ugly is not a reason to deny it. If they were going to pollute the lake, if they were going to cause runoff or damage, or you lose value of your property, then we would have a reason to deny it. So just so you know, we have to look at the project that way. I'm not going to take any more questions. That was my last comment. So.
Can I ask one thing, Ernie? And it's just, I just want clarification on the job description of the planning board. Can you explain to me what your exact job description is as a board in the best interest of the town?
We don't know.
You're the chairman. You should know what your...
To look out for the projects that come into town and act in the best interest of the town.
So, thank you.
I'm also going to say there's openings for associates on the planning board. You want to know what goes on, come down and join us every 2 weeks.
Nobody asked what was going on.
I'm just saying.
What the job description was. That's all I asked.
I'm saying, there's 2 openings for associates on the planning board to see everything, how the processes go through. Come on down every 2 weeks, and you'll see what all we go through every 2 weeks with projects.
We are all neighbors, we are all part of the community. I mean, I know you're probably disappointed with us right now, but we try to do the best we can.
We are going to talk to legal counsel.
We'll look out for your best interests as far as your property's not being damaged, and that's what we can do. Right? Thank you.
I guess if this is,
We're going to get back to board business now.
if this is the appropriate time, the applicant still requests to close. We have no new information. You're, of course, I believe, welcome to talk to council all you want, but I think we covered earlier that meets all the design criteria we discussed.
Yep.
We'd like to close the public hearing
Okay.
effective whenever you're
Yeah,
willing to vote.
we probably won't take a vote, but we can.
No, you
act
can
on it.
close, you don't have to
Yeah.
vote, it's at your discretion.
All right. So, anybody want to make a motion to close the public hearing?
No material, no new material.
No new material.
The procedure being talked about here, we don't.
Just closing.
We're not continuing any public hearing.
No.
We're not taking a
No
vote on...
new
No vote.
information will be submitted for this application, once we close it.
Will there be a vote at some point in time?
Yes, we will vote.
We
We're
have
not gonna-
90
We
days.
probably won't, we want a couple answers from town council. We probably won't vote to approve the project tonight unless the board feels they're ready to do that. But we can close the public hearing and move forward. So, somebody want to make that?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for ASD Wallum Mass Solar LLC, 0 Wallum Lake Road.
All right, motion made by Tracy, seconded by Ken. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Get more information from...
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Public hearing is now closed. All right, now,
Break, please.
do we want to continue the meeting to,
No, it's gonna be on discussion as a vote.
We want legal counsel to be there.
I can,
We want legal counsel to be at the next meeting.
oh, I didn't know.
That's what we talked
Well,
about.
I thought we were going to just,
now we can't really submit any additional information.
I don't want, no, clarity. Clarity, no more
I
information.
thought you had some questions you just wanted to ask.
I
Well,
want,
we can request him, isn't he like,
Yeah, we want
isn't it
him
like
here.
one rate? He never comes to our meetings, he goes to other people's all the time.
we want him here.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Okay, please?
Floating solar farm.
Take a 3-12 break.
I like it. Check on 312.
You don't remember? You just stole it?
I can't say they'll do it, they may take their own 90 days.
I'm gonna see Bill during the week.
Well, I can't provide it to them, but I can provide it to you and the administration.
He has the whole set of plans in the office. Yes. You gotta do the hyphen, Douglas-ma.gov. It's a new website. It's under videos, it's on our page. Planning board. I'll show you.
Which meeting are you talking about?
See ya.
Well, it's just being taped tonight.
You mean the schedule? Yeah, it's on the front page.
It wasn't on there today when I went.
So you gotta do the new one, the new website.
When I called, I spoke to Maria.
Douglas-ma.
She said, it's supposed to be. I said, it's not. She goes, no, it
You're
wasn't.
on the old website.
Okay. What is it?
Douglas-ma.gov is the new website. There'll be a link to link it to the new, because the old one's still active.
Okay, because I looked today and I didn't find it. But I just do want to say one more thing. Thank you to all of you. I know you work very hard. And it's a thankless job. We're just voicing our opinions. Please don't take it personally. You're all wonderful. We really do appreciate you. I do appreciate you.
I have horrible service here.
All right,
Yeah, let's move everybody out to the hallway.
Excuse me. So people, if you're not here for the next agenda items, please step out.
We still have a meeting to conduct,
I told you what to do, and then you're at the A&R.
Thank you, Bill. Thank
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
Right, this is a different one?
No, this is the ARN.
A-N-R.
What?
ARN?
NRA. What is
NRA.
That works.
I know, right?
A&R, approval not
You did a
required.
hell of a job. I'm gonna come get on this committee. I enjoyed this so much.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
So,
we got
close this meeting.
I'm next.
Yeah, you're next.
Do you have the Mylar?
Pardon? For you, we'll just sign it and go home.
Yeah.
You told me I had to come in and get a sign.
You do. We need to sign it. We have a lot.
Yeah, we haven't even discussed that.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, good, enough lines.
So we have 90 days.
I was coming to the last meeting, but you guys don't meet in the snow. It's like school. You can't get out.
Yeah, we try. We try.
We don't go out.
Yeah.
It won't be a public hearing.
Come on, that's all guys need to go to bed.
An issue.
Oh, there he is. I'm looking for you.
Oh, no, I snuck in. Snuck in.
Okay, so you gotta go over on that side.
Okay, where am I gonna go?
Bill,
Go,
when you come
sit
back.
in one of those chairs, like that one over there or that one. Not Bill's.
Because we're obviously not going to vote on this tonight.
On the A&R?
No, on the,
Oh, no. I know that.
we closed the public hearing, so
Yep.
just going
We
to
have
put him on the
30 days,
schedule.
I'll keep it track.
90, I thought.
I mean 90, I'm sorry, not 30. 90.
I know, right?
Yeah, he'll take 30.
I'm gonna be here till you close the public hearing because you could choose to vote at
It's
any
closed.
time.
It's closed.
Yeah, we just closed it.
Oh, the meeting.
The public meeting, I'm sorry. I know the hearing's closed, but
I did this. I did the same thing as you did. As you doing this morning.
Doesn't matter.
It didn't work really for me though.
Did you bring the plans? Okay.
Okay, I don't know.
You have 4 paper copies in the Mylar?
Yes.
Okay.
That I want to change. I want to put in this floating solar.
Don't start trouble. Okay, so,
Okay.
It's just a public meeting.
Are you doing
Did
this,
I-
Trace?
Doing what?
You got everything in front of you? Or is that-
I'll
no.
move this along quickly.
Okay.
You
How about
gotta.
that?
You have everything in front of you? I thought maybe you were
I don't know the
presenting it.
agenda. No, I wasn't presenting it.
This is an A&R plan for Paul and Beth A. BOUTIETTE for 140 Wallis Street. It's a larger parcel. They're only carving out backland, and then the plan is to add that backland to a parcel that currently has frontage on Wallis Street. I went through the plans, had a number of comments. The surveyor addressed all the comments.
Okay.
So it's good to sign from my perspective.
Okay.
So,
How was that?
where's the combo for the front land? So where's the new
He's
lot?
creating not a separate buildable lot. I think they called it parcel A.
Parcel 1,
One.
2.1 acres?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in the back.
That's gonna
Okay.
be Debbie said, which is attaching it to her.
So isn't it?
Okay, to make it bigger. Okay. All right,
Which the one
I
he's
see.
creating, this one?
Parcel 1.
Not a building lot.
I'll make a motion to endorse the A&R plan for 140 Wallis Street.
Motion made by Tracy, seconded by Ken. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries.
After all that time,
Good luck.
we should have let you come in first.
All right, should have told you to come in first, yes. All right, we have a Mylar, no, you're not.
Yeah, I have the Mylar
Okay.
You guys want to go home?
right here.
Your surveyor did a good job.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Ken.
Well, you're squiggly.
Yeah, my squiggles. No, I need a squiggly, but I need my
And I thought they were still.
rubber stamp. No, I need my rubber stamp.
Yep.
I'm old school. I got an old one.
Yeah, they bought
There
it.
you go. No, that one.
Well, thank you.
Well, they got it right the first time. You know, they, obviously after my comments, they got it right
Yes.
the first time.
We're old timers. We
I
have old
know.
stamps.
I know. Tell me about it.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's do
you
the
want to do
Mylar
this
so we
one?
can give them out.
Where's the Mylar?
That's the Mylar?
Right.
We have Mylar?
That wouldn't have helped you.
Wow.
You're not gonna put a solar farm back there, no?
If I can sign on this one.
You sign on the top.
Right here, right?
No, yeah, yep.
You won't.
Les isn't here anyway. And
Yeah, right.
Aaron can't sign either because he's not here. He's out in the hallway. We forgot him. Sorry, Aaron.
It's
Well, it's
226,
built, I
right?
don't think it's, I don't think they have an occupancy permit. I think they're still licensing with the state. Yeah.
One of these you didn't get, Tracy. I'll give it back to you.
Thank you.
And then we'll swap you with that other paper one. Got 'em all?
Kind of easy with that.
The bottom one is yours, Trace.
You paid a lot of money.
Yeah. Hey, Ernie. Be easy with that. Don't be rude.
Yeah.
Oh, nice signature, Ken.
Yeah, good, huh?
Hey, Ken, can you throw a couple Mylar pens, please?
Yeah.
Or the markers and the pen thing.
What happened to this guy?
Thank you.
That's
He's
Les, he didn't show up.
Kathy.
No,
No, Aaron.
Oh, Aaron, he's out in the hallway.
He's not paying attention.
How many? What?
Yeah, that's through my lot.
Bill, are you guys, is there an amendment that allows boards to vote if they missed one meeting or?
Dover amendment. I'm not in Mullen Rule. Mullen Rule.
You guys adopt the Mullen?
Yes, we have. But that member is
Sign this now? Ken still has to sign it?
Yep. You missed it.
What's
It wasn't.
Give me my lot.
It's
paper.
Yeah,
My
and
lot.
it didn't even make a new law.
That's fine.
You gotta use this, you got one?
That's paper. You already did the Mylar. There's only one Mylar.
Yeah, but, yeah, okay.
I know. I was
This
gonna
is
look
an
at it and be
extra.
like, I want to get some rock, and then I looked at that lady. Who was that?
I don't know who she
Were you here when we voted on this?
To the
No.
previous three.
Oh, that's right, you weren't here.
There you go.
Yeah, I have this piece of paper too.
You're meeting with our constituents. Yeah.
Did you still have their vote?
I said vote me off. I said, but what I'm saying.
You guys, I can't be here forever. I need to get a life.
Yeah, you too. How come you don't-
I can't stay here with you guys. How am I gonna find a husband?
I told you to find you one.
So, what's the Dover amendment say about it?
Hey,
I'll sign them all.
take care. You got your Mylar?
Mike Rocco, yeah.
Clock on here. I can hear it around.
Be good.
Nice to see you.
The Dover amendment. That's what we're talking about.
Thank you.
Last night I was at Board of Selectmen in Uxbridge. I just
If
do
we
my
have
gambling
zoning
because I needed a
So-
release from them.
What does the Dover amendment say about that?
Then it'd go by the rules for our solar zoning bylaws.
Okay,
I don't
so
see
zoning
how
would
we
still
can
apply
do
if we had it.
Correct.
He's done everything he's supposed to do. Wallace,
The boss kept moving.
as far as we're actually concerned. All right. It's A-okay. So,
Yeah.
in order
Holy
to
crap.
deny it,
Bill,
Okay,
we have to find
which one you
you
want
want
to
to
take?
do number one?
reason.
Number one, you want to take?
At this point,
Yeah, okay.
would it,
Andy?
I can see he's,
Huh?
they're gonna make trouble
Glen
if we
Street.
don't, I know that.
Glen Street, too.
It seems that way.
No, that's.
So we'll do one and then we'll,
Nobody complains and I don't care. You know.
oh, I think I got them.
What were you supposed to do for one?
to show Patty this. Oh, you mean, oh, you got your one here?
You think she'd be interested?
It's like
All right, ready, board?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so 1 and 2. Yeah. So, we got a request, it's in your packet,
Yep.
from the applicant for Glen Street earth removal project.
Mr. Chair, I'll recuse myself. I'm just gonna hang out though.
That's requested
Where the heck
actually
is
from
it?
GBI.
The record show that Tracy's
The
accusing
applicant,
herself.
Yeah. But you're gonna speak to it.
Yep.
So, okay, so it's on a letterhead from GBI. And basically, there's an existing permit for this site for earth removal. It was a 1-year permit.
Yep.
They're looking for 3 things.
But anyway, just that.
A 12-month extension,
Okay.
so that it would go to an end date of 5/18/20. I'm sorry, 5/8/20.
20.
They would like to modify the hours of operation from, the current permit has 8 to 3. They want to modify it to 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yeah.
And they want to increase the daily removal volume from 200 cubic yards per day to 1,250 cubic yards per day.
Yep.
So just to put that in scale, that's going from roughly 6 trailer dumps per day to 37 trailer dumps per day.
You're pretty close, Bill.
What are you getting? 13 yards on a trailer dump?
33.
33?
Yeah.
Yeah, we looked at it in tons, 35
Yeah, you
tons.
guys go tonnage, right? Yeah, over the scales.
So I had 36 to 39 loads a day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is 4 to 5 loads per hour,
Where's it coming out of?
which would not be removed at that pace, but if it were, that would be 24 days it would be done.
Oh, that's for the hill, right?
Yeah, we wouldn't remove it at that pace, but at the 200 yards a day, that's 200 days.
Going in Glen Street, coming back out Glen Street to X16?
Yeah, so right there at that turn might be the concern,
Yeah.
point of concern.
Which turn?
Route
Coming out of
16
Glen
and
Street, because you got that hill coming down, and,
So, I mean, when you have 6 trucks per day versus 40.
yeah, that's quite an increase.
From Uxbridge.
But during the day, though, the traffic is.
The other direction.
It is.
I thought the increase was 200,
Just people coming over that hill.
I thought you were talking going from 200 to
Once the signage
250
is on.
cubic yards or whatever. What did you say?
It was going from 200 cubic yards per day to 1,250.
1250, oh, okay, excuse me. All right,
I know.
I missed that.
You know what I'm saying?
1,000.
You see the fucking traffic, you see the sign.
Right,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out geographically from me.
From where
it
this
was.
is?
Yeah, I know where it is now.
Glen Street, right by K2 Auto.
K2, past that,
Yeah.
K2 Auto is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big increase.
That gets them all.
Well, it's really trying to balance worth putting a loader over there, really.
Yeah.
I'm
At
sorry?
200, we're looking at it from our perspective as, it has to be worth to put a loader over there at 200 yards, which
Yeah.
was GBI's original, which was probably
Yeah.
a different look at it.
Yeah.
How many yards is it over there? Ballpark? What are you looking at?
37 or something like that, 37,000.
37,000, so you're looking at doing this for like a month?
It would,
Well,
we'd
hang it out a
probably,
month
we'd
and a
have
half.
it all out if we could
Within
get
the
close to
permit.
that in
Yeah.
3 months.
3 months?
So why is the extension a year, just because?
I can't, because it was ending March of
Yeah.
this year, right?
Yeah, right here,
May.
right here.
Yeah, because the existing,
May
20, yeah.
No, May 8th, sorry.
yeah, the existing one was expiring May 8th,
Yeah.
May 8th of this year.
And you want to take it to May 8th of next year?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it
but,
would,
If you
but,
want to buy me a present, my birthday.
but if it's a matter, you can do this in a matter of 6 weeks or 5 weeks or 7, whatever, why do you not ask for it to go from?
Cover it, just cover a
2
year,
months,
then it's
year?
done. Yeah.
No, well,
they
they
gonna
did come
find more
in,
earth?
they did come in for a shorter period, but the concern that I had raised with the board was the season that we would have to restore the site if it was necessary.
Right.
But there'll
We
be-
asked for
I
the year.
I have
Yeah,
no
yeah.
problem for the year.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
All right, but it's the
I have no
intensity of the
problem with the
amount of
hours.
loads on the neighbors and everything, I mean, not that many neighbors there. but-
Well, yeah, you have to ask yourself a question, and really, I talked to Jay about this, and the question isn't whether or not the board thinks it's a significant change, or if if I think it's a significant change, it's really for the property abutters, if they think it's a significant change. Obviously, they're not here to answer that question, but would it be prudent to think it was a significant change from their perspective?
I mean, you go from 7 to 33 loads,
Sorry.
what do you think, Mike?
I got no problem with it.
Yeah?
Yeah, done and over. Why drag it out?
Well, that's what my point is that can you get it done and over and before,
Oh, it will be, but the idea is
before June
leave the
1st?
gear in there for
Summer?
coverage.
or June
clear, it
school,
would
when
be-
school's out?
be tough.
But you just said that,
Well, we have to clear it,
yeah,
and we can't clear it. If this is approved, we would clear it the third week in March.
Yeah.
April 1st, strip it,
As
April,
long as we
May,
don't get the rain.
June, you know,
You got the
so.
rainy season, then you got to
Yeah,
kind of
three,
hold off there too.
it would be looking pretty all done in July.
I have no problem with the hours. I have no problem with extending it for the year. I have a little bit of a concern with 37 trailer dumps going in and out of there every day, 5 an hour.
what about signage and all that? I mean, kids are on bicycles. you start
That's
getting
already
into spring.
addressed in the permit.
It's already there, yeah,
We've
of
dealt
course
with
it's there.
that.
So
The permit otherwise would stay the same. It's really just asking for that extension in the
I
hours.
bow to you guys know more about that.
Yeah, the thing is, right now, I see no problem with it, but if concerns come up with the abutters where, okay, it's getting kind of out of control, then maybe we need to relook at,
You can't go back, Mike.
we can't have it in there, no condition, we
No,
can't
you
do
can't
nothing.
have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, sometimes you can.
3 an hour, in that range. But I think my quick
24.
math gets us to 800 kind of
So
day.
3 hours, 24.
Yeah, that's rounding down. It's 4 an hour.
So that's
Not rounding
32,
up.
that's,
Yeah.
So you're going from 5 an hour to
No, 4 a day, 6 a day to
For an hour.
For an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes from 6 a day to 32 a day.
All right, all right, all right.
But the hours change, so yeah, I did the calculation, actually.
8 times 4 is 32.
All right, so 7 to 4, and you're saying 4 trucks an hour.
7 to 4 is 9 hours, so, right.
That, yeah, I don't, that gives a little bit of a break up from,
And that's not, it's
know,
not
I mean,
gonna
like I
happen
said, my
like
main
that every day. Some days it could be.
right, yeah, okay.
You know those truckers, though, they come all at the same time.
Yeah.
No, when you say,
Yeah, right.
I can't help that.
7 o'clock is the line.
For the most part, you'll be taking a right going down 16 towards town, because pulling out, going up that hill, my only concern is the traffic coming over that hill.
yeah,
You know?
I drive that a lot myself.
So,
That's what I was just saying, there's a lot of traffic.
and they're flying.
Over that
Nobody's
hill.
nobody's doing the speed limit when they come over that hill. All right, all right, I'm good with that. If everybody else is.
Yeah, I'm on board. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather see it done than drag out. The longer you drag out some of this stuff, the worse it gets. You know, once you start getting an area open.
I mean, there are houses on that road, so I'm just worried, nobody's got
We
notice. that
will
there's gonna
get
be-
complaints, and you
Then
know,
we'll-
I'll just
we'll
document
revisit
them
it.
as the decision
Right.
requires,
But-
and
yeah.
if it becomes a problem, we'll contact the
That's what I'm saying.
applicant or the rep and come in
We'll have to
and
readdress
deal
it
with
at
it
that
with the
time.
board.
Can I
Okay,
ask
that-
something?
I have
in
no
this
problem with that. That's
Scenario
good.
was, with this increase, you're saying it's not a substantial change per se?
No.
Do they get re-notified, the abutters? Would have they known
Well,
to be
that's the
here?
question I was raising with you. If it's significant to an abutter, that's when you should have a hearing.
If I'm an abutter, do I want to know? Probably, if it goes from, 6 a day to 33 a day or something like that. I don't know. Should they have input, Ernie? I'm just asking. If you're an abutter, do you want to know this?
It's a gravel pit.
Yeah, but it's not like a sign like McIntyre that says gravel pit. It's not like a business. It's not a business. It's not a
Yeah,
gravel pit.
it's on a little road, a windy road, that's the
It's not
thing.
like McIntyre
No different
sign.
than you having an apple orchard out there on that street. You turned it into a
Yeah, but that's
business
been there for
on a
300
single,
years. A little different.
little two-path road. I mean,
No,
it's,
I guess what.
let them run the trucks.
No, I'm not opposed. I'm just asking a question. Is this a place where people can go and buy gravel? Is that what you're saying? It's not a business.
No.
Right, that's what I said. It's not a business. It's different
Pulling it out of a pit.
than McIntyre, which has been there, and they know that, or Pine, or whatever. Just ask a question.
Yeah, no, I agree, it is a significant increase in the amount of trucks from 6 to
33.
30 something, yeah. Is it a significant enough change to notify everybody? That's a decision you guys are gonna have to make
They find out
too.
in hindsight that we
But-
didn't.
Like Bill said, we can revisit it if we start getting complaints, right?
Okay.
Well, the process would be, we would document the complaints, as I've done in the past, not necessarily with this project. I would share it with the board. The board could choose to have, the applicant or the operator in and deal with it.
Okay.
Like we've
I
done
don't
on
have
other
a-
projects where, we had a dust control plan, for example.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. For an hour, it's an increase, yeah, but I think we can handle it, Aaron, if we get complaints, and we can
Well,
work
certainly
with
if
it.
we get complaints,
Just
then we need to.
to have to re-notify the
Yep.
whole
Okay.
process, to do
Yep.
the whole application again, I don't think that's
Right, I
necessary.
mean, if it goes, they're responsible parties here, these guys know what
Yeah.
they're doing.
So,
And-
I'm
But if
okay
we
with
get
that.
complaints, we'll have to respond to it, that's
Yeah,
all.
I'm okay with that, if everybody else is.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right. So we need a formal vote on that, Bill?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to extend earth removal permit ER 180312 to go to 508 year 20, and an increase of trucks to
No, tonnage.
No.
tonnage.
Is it tonnage?
No, we also said trucks.
Cubic yards.
Four loads an hour, and extend the operating hours from 7.
No, that's more. Don't give them more than they asked for.
Hold on,
Where the heck's that letter?
right here. Just the one you're
Yeah,
looking for?
read the numbers on the letter.
Yeah.
He wanted
Okay.
1250, but we're.
Yeah, do 1251.
Let's hear
We'll
12.
go to 800.
It says
Cubic
1250.
yards.
How many yards do you want to go to? 800?
Yeah, well, if we did 28 times 4, 2, 3,
8 times 4 is 32, that's 112.
yeah.
Thank you.
No calculator needed.
Round numbers, 880.
880?
880?
Yeah.
So not 12.
880 cubic yards a day
Yeah.
with operating hours 7 AM to 4 PM.
So the 7 to 4, does that mean nobody idles before 7?
No one's even there.
Till 7? No one can come in till 7?
You're
That's
allowed
good.
to,
That's good.
winter months, you're allowed to start your equipment before 7.
He's saying he's not going to.
Yeah, the trucks won't be there
Well,
because
but
they're
the loader
coming.
will be.
Yeah, the loader.
Loader will be running before 7, so
Just
first
at
truck
night.
at 7, it can be loaded.
So they can wake people up at 6:30 or something?
No, I said you can
Quarter
start it.
Quarter. Yeah, and it's just an
I'm
idle.
just saying.
We've done it for every project in the winter months.
But then summer comes and then you're.
Okay.
Could you explain, we went from 1250 cubic
To 880.
Winter months.
because,
He requested a decrease to satisfy the board.
Yeah.
I mean, did you change the time span, or do you still?
No, the time
still
span
one
is what
year?
they requested.
7 to 4.
7 to 4.
No, I mean, 1-year extension.
Oh, 1 year.
So,
That's part of the motion, yeah.
and that reflects the 880 number in the sense that they can get that out of there.
Oh, yeah, I haven't done the math now. It's gonna take longer to get it
That's all I'm
out.
asking.
I mean,
Simple math.
it's up to you guys.
All right, so the motion's been made. Anybody second that?
Second?
Okay, motion made by Mike Z, seconded by Mike G.
Hey,
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries.
Abstain.
Oh, one abstention from Tracy.
So everyone else was aye?
Everyone else is aye. That's
Special
4.
permit. Good. It's in the packet to be signed.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll sign it at the end of the night.
You want to talk about number 2?
Yeah, the only thing I didn't bring the plan.
It's just a
We're gonna
1-year
get out of here.
removal.
Yeah.
I reviewed the plan, I mean, I don't know, they can I can grab it if they want to see it, but. Okay, number 2 is over at Pine Sand and Stone at Route 146 and Lackey Dam Road. They request a 1-year extension for Area E permit. They did provide,
Extended 1 year on the bond.
hold on, they did provide an as-built plan which shows that they're within the grades that were permitted, so they do have capacity left there. They're looking for a 1-year extension. We've reviewed the bond itself, the continuation bond, and town council says that's fine. However, we still have to look at the agreement form for the bond. And so pending town council's approval of the bond form, right, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really the only lingering issue. I'm not opposed to granting the extension tonight, pending town council's approval of the bond.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to grant the 1-year extension for permit ER 14-01 parcel E pending town council's approval of the bond.
Second.
Motion made by Tracy, seconded by Mike Z. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Thanks,
All right,
Andy.
thank you.
Anything else, Rick? That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
Did you want to
Thanks for
talk
coming in.
Well, the only thing
I got an old.
Bill and I spoke because Bill asked us to do an interim as-built, which we're aware, we understand why Bill wants it. We're aware that it's at the board's discretion. So I talked to Bill. This one that we did for Area E was, we hired Allen Engineering.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wanted, and I showed Bill, we have the in-house capacity to do our own plans.
Okay.
It's a little small, but we do it with a drone, and we can match the AutoCADs up, overlay the existing grades to the proposed grades for Bill's benefit. So what we're hoping, and ask for a compromise, where the interim ones, we can have Alan verify the grades off a benchmark, and we know we're close. And then
The control points.
the control point.
Yeah.
And then for a final as-built, that would all be at Allen Engineering. So it lets Bill watch us, check on us annually.
I'll tell you, I'm very impressed with the quality of what Andy showed me, and, you know, I have no issues with what he's proposing
Okay.
for the interim steps. Obviously, for the final, I'd like to see a stamp plan.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's
long
great.
as
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
No, Lori?
Oh, this is,
Nope.
oh, it's not.
Yeah. All right, number 3, Bill, we here for that? Yep.
saving the best for last.
Oh, you're not last.
Oh, Lord.
We wish you were last. You're not last.
No, you're not last.
Take one and hand
Oh, good, you have that.
it. Yeah, Steve got it to me like the 11th hour.
This is the deepest one that's ever been, isn't it?
Take one and pass them on. Sign it here.
No.
Sign it over.
All right, so we've been talking for some time regarding the surety value for Whitin's Reservoir Estates.
Yep.
This is the Fenari project off
Yep.
Douglas Hill Way.
Okay.
So I've gone back and forth, and you know, we were pretty much at an impasse at one point, and so we were off really meeting halfway between. I gave 13 grand on my end. They came up 13 grand on their end. So the number that's before you on the sheet I just handed out is the new surety value that we agree on. And so, you know, I will let the applicants or their representatives speak to the rest.
So I think Bill did a fantastic job. So my name is Jennifer Gavelitz. I apologize, I don't have much of a voice. I represent NQLW. They are the proposed buyers of this land. Their purchase is contingent upon the issuance of building permits and being able to actually do something with the land itself. So the first impasse that we came about was with regards to this surety bond. I think that that has been satisfied. I believe that the town is satisfied with the number. If there's any questions with regards to what's contained here or what's been built, certainly we're willing to address that now. But the town put forth the requisite information to substantiate the numbers. So there really wasn't, the rebuttal that we were expecting wasn't really available because you did substantiate the numbers. So we're willing to put this with the cash bond. I did get the application from Jay late this afternoon. Lori is the owner, so Lori is the ultimate person that does need to sign the application. She's not here today, and I have not spoken to her with regards to this application. Is the town prepared to take an application from the proposed, the surety is coming from the proposed buyer?
The issue becomes, our agreement and approval is with Fenari. It's not with Mr. Pace or the company that he works with. So really, that's kind of where we are, and I know in previous conversations I've had with Jay, his preference is that we maintain that integrity of a direct relationship with Fenari.
Yeah, okay, unless
You know,
she sells the project.
if there were someone else that stepped into her role, that's certainly doable, but much like, well, not so much as Julie had, but, so from my past conversations with Jay, our agreement and signatures should be with Lori, and then, you know, having a pass between with a third party doesn't make sense.
Yeah, doesn't.
So I guess, and that's absolutely fine. That's no problem with us. We can take care of that contractually on our end. As far as getting the bond transferred from Lori to NQOW, once the purchase does get finalized, what kind of process does the town want from us to transfer?
I would have to talk to Jay about that.
Okay, I don't think that's, again, gonna impede what we're looking for today.
Right.
Assignment with her sign.
I think that would be, that's something that's within reason.
Okay. And then, so once the surety bond was agreed on and signed, the next step is the release of the covenant for 2 lots. That was agreed to back in 2014, and I did get the decision recorded. That was something that we had talked about in
Thank
January,
God.
so that did get recorded. So I have the release put forth. I don't think I sent you the revised with the 7.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I assume,
I filled
can you
in
just
the lot
talk
numbers.
briefly about the lots? Yeah, okay.
We had just, there's no, if you, I guess, decide that one lot is better to develop first than the other, that's fine. We just chose 1 and 2. They're the first 2 lots as you enter the development.
That always
Yeah,
looks
yeah,
better.
just to back up, so the board understands, this is a flexible development.
Yes.
The issue that's causing this kind of like swirling around partial lot releases after a surety's posted is the fact that a couple of those lots within the project 2, is it?
Just one.
Just one is an affordable unit that requires DHCD approval, state approval. So therefore, there's a process, and that's what's kind of mucking the
Right, so
waters.
DHCD, they won't accept the application until there has been some activity at this.
Yeah. Right.
So, sort of spinning in circles here.
Big chicken and the egg.
And that's what that recording that was from 2013 or whatever, that just occurred. That's why that was helpful. So we're at a point, we have the lot releases. We do have one that's been signed, but regretfully, it's a previous board. So we thought it'd be better to get a fresh set of signatures on this set of lot releases.
Do you need a motion on accepting of the loan?
Well, again, that's going to be, what I hope you're going to do is sign the lot release tonight, give it to me to hold until Jay approves the form of the surety agreement.
Right.
The value is established at $135,514.36.
Cash bond, right?
Cash.
Cash bond.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So you don't need
The
nothing from us?
specific lots are
Need a
being
vote
called out.
to
You
release
picked out
lots 1 and 2.
We just took the first 2.
So what if a buyer wants another lot, a different
Running
lot?
right back in here, okay? and-
Yeah, I know.
And asking you to
So
swap
do we
lots, okay,
typically
swap
call out the lot
Can it
number?
just be 2, anywhere they pick?
We don't call out the lot number. They are calling out the lot number. And again, I'd have to refresh myself on what that document that was just recorded says, but that either says 2 lots or it says specifically which lots. I'm not
I
sure.
mean, I would go for 2 lots. Okay, so I would give you the opportunity to,
Yeah.
I wouldn't actually pick out the lot numbers. Yeah.
So we did on the release that was prepared, that we prepared, just lots 1 and 2. It wasn't dictated to us what we had to choose.
Well, you can name them whatever you can say that one was 1, and this is 2.
Well, no, it's referring to the subdivision plan.
Oh, it's already been.
Plan.
They've already been numbered.
So, should be just
I would just
more
edit that
choice.
page that you already filled out. Probably.
Our
To just
intention,
include 2 lots?
Yeah.
okay.
So the only issue that I see with that is with regards to title purposes. If the covenant still affects title and they're developing it, and finally it's ready to actually go to the market, upon transfer, that lot is going to specifically need to be released.
Yeah,
So-
can I ask a question though? Okay, why can't we make that decision at building permit then? Okay, so in other words, we're
Sure.
gonna get 2 building permits.
Yeah,
Once
if
that-
you're not
once
going to
that's
find
over-
us, well, I'm not going to
Yeah.
unnecessarily.
Right, okay, I don't think it's, you know,
I
you're
can
only
get
gonna
you
give
a
us 2.
revised.
Right.
Okay,
Correct.
so if we fill that in and recorded it when we get the building permit, maybe that simplifies things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That work?
Okay.
Now you're back into circular motion. This needs to be
Okay, all
signed
right.
before
Let me shut up.
they release a building permit. It needs to be decided what's released first.
1 and 2.
I'm good with 1 and 2. We've got it ready to go, hit the ground
Unless
running.
somebody wants
If they
number
want
3.
to, we've done what we've called horse trading in the past, and certainly that's something we can work with. And I'm signing off now with the new building commissioner on the building permit application, so I monitor these things as we move forward.
All right.
Okay. And then, just a question with regards to moving forward. There's, once the building permit is established for one of the lots, we're able to submit the application to DHCD. We'd like to then develop, not just one at a time. Is there an application process or a number of lots or something that the board would like to see as far as once the application is in for the fair housing to develop the rest of the development?
I would say, number one, we're going to refer to the guidance document that you just recorded. Number two, obviously, the decision for the flexible development, which has some language regarding the progress that gets made. And lastly, I think, you know, there's some peripheral things, like I know we had conversations with Lori in the past about sidewalk construction and when that was going to occur. I'd have to come up to speed on that because it's been so long.
I haven't looked at it in a long time.
And there's other milestones too with regard to deposit of money into
to do that drainage down the road.
Drainage and things like that.
Is land...
What I would suggest is that we get a specific plan in writing submitted from the applicant so that it can be reviewed instead of just discussed kind of on the fly.
Then we know what everything is and we can look at everything. Yeah. Instead of taking bits and pieces at a time.
Right. I don't want to misspeak.
Okay, so we'll put in the application for the fair housing and then put together a plan to present.
Yeah, and I think the plan also should detail, you know, what your anticipated schedule is with your housing application so that, you know, we can just monitor the progress of that.
Yeah, our intention, just so you know, is not to build two houses, wait till they sell, build 2 more houses.
No, it makes sense.
Okay.
Right.
But it's also, as soon as we get foundations in, it's our intention to work with the affordable housing component of that. So that will be in play as well. I'd rather get that.
Yeah, right.
You know, so, you know, our hopes is that, although we're getting a late start here, we get 7-8 houses done this year.
Okay. That'd be great. Yeah. Yep, I mean, yeah, that's why I said we don't keep coming back in bits and pieces. If we can get everything for us, then you can just go ahead and move forward, and we won't be coming to meetings every month. Very good.
So we, not really.
Need a motion to release?
Need a motion to release lots 1 and 2 pending submittal and approval of the surety discussed.
So I'll make a motion to release lots numbers 1 and 2 at Whitin's Heights definite subdivision pending the review from town council for the cash bond as submitted.
Second.
All right, motion made by Mike C, seconded by Mike G. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Sorry to keep you
Look
so
forward to seeing you
long. I'll
again.
get this signed tonight and I'll hold on.
Okay, and I'll submit these to town council, get everything approved.
After Lori signs it, send it.
Well, I'd
Is there a small cross?
There is, but it's, there's a couple of particulars that I just wanted to go over. So we're not the applicant, she's the owner, so she'll sign.
Yeah, I know.
This is owner thing, so I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, I know. I'd
so
rather
the
be
plan has
cold
already
than
been
hot.
decided, so I
Feet are
changed some of the verbiage.
pretty much frozen.
I want to make sure that he's,
That's all.
do it with him, get it
Bounce it
approved.
off of him, and if he's good on it.
Can we go home soon?
Thank you.
15 minutes is my bedtime,
Yeah,
so.
they're up late tonight. They got us a night out on the town. We got stuff, we got a whole folder of stuff to sign. We got a ZBA application to do.
Is there anything we can skip?
There's no whining allowed.
Yeah,
And I didn't get,
fly through it very quick.
and I didn't make dinner,
All
I
right,
didn't have any
let's
dinner
continue.
either.
Okay, obviously, number 4 is just signing the permits that we issued previously. I did share it with the applicant. He's good with the
So
form.
zoning request.
That's William Estates.
You're going to sign it tonight? Sign these tonight?
That's up to you.
Keep moving.
Well, it's
Keep moving.
It's in that folder, right?
Number 5, Economic Development Committee is suggesting that we have a rezoning of an area. So with your approval, I'm going to advertise and move forward with that. Basically, it's the northeast corner of town, south of East Hartford Ave. There's that little jog in Douglas. There's a section that's like several hundred feet that's residential. It's landlocked.
Yeah.
And it abuts industrial. So they want to assign, not all of it, but the majority of it as industrial. If I do have a figure in your packets if you want to see it. They did not identify all the parcels, so there's sporadic spot parcels that they're excluding that are going to be residential islands, if you will.
Okay.
Aside from those, the major parcels that they may or may not have some plans for, they're suggesting we rezone. So with your approval, I'll move forward with that. Advertise and so on and so forth.
I'm all for that.
Okay.
Yep.
Likewise, On number 6, we kind of briefly touched on this. This is over at the Schuster House and the property known as, the subdivision property known as the Lane.
Yeah, the Lane.
We want to be prepared. I know we talked about potential uses on that property, and so we want to be compatible with the zoning district. So the map that's in your packet shows the parcels that we're looking at for rezoning from VR to VB.
Okay.
Okay, so with your approval, I'll move forward on that.
Yep.
What does it?
And as well as proposing a new use in the use table.
Yes, there's an email in the packet from town council talking about the proposed use that we did discuss at a previous meeting.
Is that
Can I throw a new use in?
Does that have to go to public meeting?
New use
What's that?
in
Does that have to
also?
go to public meeting?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, we're going to have a public hearing. It'll be advertised in a public hearing. We'll notify the landowners of the potential rezoning and then move forward with
And it
that.
can only be done at town
I'm trying to
meeting.
ask, is it you have to have a warrant to go to the
Right,
town?
it has to be done at
The
town
first
meeting.
step, though, is we have a hearing here with this board.
Yeah. Okay, Tracy, your question?
No, while we're adding uses to the use table, I'd like to add a couple.
Oh.
I haven't decided what they are yet.
Okay, not, you want to
I thought you wanted to move this along.
No, I mean, if you guys are just gonna add a bunch of stuff.
Gonna have a subcommittee for
We're
a
not,
subcommittee?
people are
Yeah.
requesting us, the economic
Not
development.
the use.
And, oh, all right, the use, yeah.
Yeah, that was an add-on.
Okay.
I'll have something for you for
Okay,
next meeting.
you work on it, all right.
Number 7, CMRPC rezoning.
Yeah.
I've done nothing with that,
Yeah.
and as you may recall at the last meeting that we talked about this,
Yeah.
we talked about adult entertainment
Yes.
overlay district,
Yeah.
which was like totally off the radar from what
What
we
the original
originally were
scope
trying to
was,
do.
right.
But it's still important.
Nonetheless, it's still important, and no doubt. However, it's beyond the scope of really what we were doing. So, I can certainly move forward with that, but my personal opinion is I would encourage you to specifically identify that, talk about that with intent of talking about that, and basically.
Well, they've actually done it for us. The economic development actually is rezoning some things to industrial, so that kind of was along our lines of
good
what
idea.
our goal was. So they've targeted what they thought was important. So
It's good.
they're getting something rezoned
So now.
from RA to industrial.
Correct. Do you want me to continue with the adult entertainment, or do you want to have that as a separate topic as a future discussion?
We should start.
I think it needs a thorough vetting. I'll tell you why.
Yes.
That is probably the most densely populated location in town adjacent to where we're proposing this use. And, that's where you go up North Street on the left-hand side, it's village residential, it's all dense residential areas with a lot of single-family homes. We're proposing adult entertainment on the right side.
Right, I'm
Okay.
telling you right now, it will never fly.
So I think a more thorough vetting
Yeah.
is appropriate.
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
moving along.
In your packets, 2018 annual report, we submitted to the Suzanne for the
She's got it.
report. ZBA application in your packet
Yep.
somewhere. I don't know who has it.
Who would like it?
I did the last one.
Who's the fast talker here?
Not me.
Not Mike.
Where's it at?
Southeast Main Street.
Town meeting warrant articles.
Town meeting warrant articles, I just want to briefly update you on what I
you
have
should
at
get
this
this
point in
one.
time. Warrant articles are due to the selectmen on this Friday, March 1st.
They've
March
already
1st,
opened the hearing.
this Friday.
Yes, sir.
So, right now, we're looking at Woodland Road potentially for acceptance. They've submitted actually to the selectmen. Wildflower Drive, which is Summerlin Estates, and Cobblestone Lane, which is Stonegate Estates. The couple of these may not meet the timing, okay? This is what was submitted in last October. I don't know that they'll meet the timing for this Friday to get the warrant articles in. That burden falls on them.
Yeah, Wildflower hasn't even been,
Right.
it doesn't even have a top coat on it yet.
Which
I
one?
know.
Wildflower, doesn't it?
Wildflower does not, correct.
They're
But,
not gonna make it.
If he submits a warrant article, great. He submitted a schedule that said the spring he would pave, which
Yeah.
is fine.
Okay.
You know,
That's fine,
if he
yeah.
meets that schedule, we can be on track.
I know we sent him a notice asking him, what's up, Dan, when you're going.
Yeah, and it's almost to the point where I'm pushing these things
Yeah,
along.
very good. Somebody has to.
Okay. Darling Way, there was a little snafu that we're looking into and working with town council. As you know, last town meeting, we accepted Darling Way and Brainstorm Circle.
Yeah, right.
There's a little square of property between Pond Street and Darling Way that may have been excluded. We're trying to figure that out, so we may have to have that as an article.
That's the easement.
It's like 50 feet of Spring Meadow Estates, not Darling Way.
Right, there's an easement for sewer and water, I believe.
It's not an easement, it's part of the road, and
yeah,
it
but
was
it never-
intended to be part of the
Somebody
article.
bought the house, they blocked it off.
So we'll deal with that. I'm trying to get an answer
Yeah,
from
all
Jay.
right, get an answer on that one, yep.
Bill, can I
Those
interrupt
two
you for
zoning changes.
One second. I think that ZBA has already been reviewed. Do you still want us to, it's already been opened, I'm pretty sure.
Where is it, though? I'm trying to find it.
What do you mean opened by?
By ZBA, yeah, do you still want us to
They can,
respond?
yes,
Okay.
we have a certain number of days to get them our feedback. The sooner the better.
Okay, I didn't know if the days were
Yep.
Mike's still
over.
looking it over, okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
I don't know how many he's looking to pass, that's the only problem.
And
You go and need
aside
more
from those couple of
information.
zoning articles I just talked about, that's it.
Okay.
Doesn't say how many.
I can't find the thing.
Okay. Mike, do you have the minutes? Done?
I do. Yeah.
Okay,
One quick
122.
key,
Yep.
one quick comment.
Yes?
Page 2. I appreciate this, Tracy, but where is it?
Oh, geez.
Item number 5.
Yeah?
1, 2, third sentence refers to Lou and Paul Dauphinies. It makes it sound like they're brothers or something.
Oh,
Like,
not
might want to
lovers.
insert the name Tocino after Lou.
Yeah.
That's my only comment.
Okay. What's your motion?
I'd move to approve the meeting minutes as amended for January 22nd, 2019.
Second.
That's not good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey,
Sorry for that.
right, he moved to approve, and you second?
Yep, as amended. And second. And then he called the vote.
You already called the vote?
Accidentally.
You were talking, you
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
abstained, that motion carries. All right.
Can we adjourn?
All right, let's do the ZBA. Mike's got some questions on the ZBA.
Okay.
I'm looking for a location there. That there, where's Thompson?
What is this? What is that right there? That's Churchill, okay. You go
Churchill.
past, you go on to the blinking light, go on to Southwest Main.
Yeah,
All right, you go down
Alright,
past the
Thompson.
campground, go up to the top of the hill.
yeah,
There's Churchill
okay.
Road is right there, and across the street is...
Oh, it's Southwest Main, Churchill.
The
Yeah,
big farm,
Southwest.
yeah. Up in your neck of the woods.
We have,
What are they asking for?
Bill, do you have the password?
All right,
Any
we have a-
password for the Wi-Fi?
we have a location here, we have 3.39
I'll text it to you.
acres, just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah?
It's over 3 acres.
Just share it with
And
me.
he's looking,
do you do
somebody's
that?
complaining that he's parking some of his 2 trucks and 3 trailers.
Oh, yeah, okay, this has already gone before ZBA.
This isn't the one across from the
And
new house that was built.
they denied him, and they told him to get the stuff
He
out of
has
there.
a,
within
is this
30
the
days.
one with the gate? He has tractor trailers back there, is that the guy?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like a gravel area.
yes.
He's created a commercial, industrial sort of zone. Is that what we're talking about?
On what street?
So,
They
so a
denied
guy
it.
that makes a living driving a truck can't park his truck at home?
No, he's got several pieces of equipment in there. He
Yeah.
came in for a driveway permit because he wanted to bring his horse trailer in and turn it
Yeah.
around. Next thing we knew, he got the permit for the second
Wi-Fi
driveway.
share
Next
or
thing we knew, he was
something,
parking all kinds of
maybe?
equipment in there.
Yeah.
The neighbors started complaining about it.
Oh, so the neighbors did, okay. I didn't
Yeah,
see
it's not
nothing here
zoned
about
for it.
neighbors.
It's not zoned for it. He didn't come in and
Because
get
that
any
was
permits
before
or
our
anything.
last
So
meeting.
why are we discussing
I
it?
asked
it did-
Bill,
because it
and
didn't
Bill
come into
said
us before.
continue to review it, even
They've
though
already
it's
taken
already
action.
been...
Is that all of it?
They did not take action. No.
Yeah, in my opinion.
ZBA?
I think they did.
They took action. I thought you suggested.
Oh, that,
I already said they did.
they closed.
They closed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that the one on Southwest Main?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they denied that.
They denied it, and they told them 30 days to get everything
That's
out.
funny. I just didn't say anything.
So do we have to make a comment on this, one way or the other?
No, I thought it was still open.
No.
Way to go. 3 minutes of my life I'll never get back.
All right.
Going towards my house, but it's
We have some stuff to sign, but first,
stone walls that were built.
you're still here.
Oh, yeah, right.
Meeting is over.
Here until the meeting's over?
He enjoys our company.
You know, is that company? Okay.
Can't get enough of this.
All right, now, we've closed the public hearing, so
We have 90 days to vote.
we're gonna get some
That's
answers from
wrong.
town council.
He knows, he just wants to see if we vote, that's why.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't blame you.
I can't risk that you do or don't, and I don't.
Oh, I wish you'd just asked, because, no, I don't, we're not gonna vote
We're
on this
not
tonight.
voting.
Tonight? No.
Yeah, no. So,
He doesn't
He's still
trust
waiting.
us. He doesn't
He's
trust
still gonna wait.
us.
yeah.
We wouldn't do that to you.
We will
You're a
not-
good
we will not
presenter.
vote
You're
on it
doing a
tonight.
good job. It's just,
Yeah.
No, you can stay till we close, that's fine, okay, we will not
go for
vote on it
drinks
tonight.
too, you know?
Can't do that.
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't look
Anything
good.
else?
We got some stuff to sign, but,
Yeah, that's right. Let's sign.
You can do that after you close.
yeah.
Make a
Okay.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Tracy. Oh, all right. All those in favor, I said?
Aye.
Yeah, aye, okay, we're all set, meeting is over.
Okay, let's sign these.